Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. If this is your first Nextlander podcast, hey, welcome, everybody. I hear everybody out there welcoming you as well. Brad Shoemaker, Alex Navarro, how are you two doing?
I am doing fantastic. Autumn is in the air. I am relaxed. I'm staring at a lake. It's beautiful.
Great, Brad.
I'm horrible. Everything's a nightmare. Shut this thing off.
Stop it. Stop. You're going to scare the nice
yin and
new
the yang
people.
of this podcast.
No, I'm just trying to get into the spirit. I mean, look, there are skeletons strewn about the street when I walk out my door. So obviously something bad is going on.
That's just
How many of them are 12-foot skeletons?
These were more like mini skeletons. Doing things like climbing the fence next door.
Ooh.
Clearly they were trying to escape whatever calamity befell them.
They're just gig workers. They were building that fence. It's
The bones are their money.
Oh, wait. Too real.
their bones are their money. Their bones. Okay, that's pretty good.
A bit too real.
About the gig workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've only seen a couple of houses out here with some Halloween decorations so far.
Oh, wow. That's, it's one nice thing about living in a city still is just the urban density means you get to see a whole lot of holiday flair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everywhere. People are putting up Halloween lights this year.
Okay.
Like
any of those
Christmas
projector lights? The ones
No. I mean, like, just straight up Christmas string lights, except Halloween instead.
Okay, so are we talking like orange and purple?
I've seen some that are just straight orange, like just strings of nothing but orange.
Okay.
Is purple a Halloween color?
I think orange is the canonical Halloween color. Right?
Orange is the canonical, but purple, I feel like if you need a secondary color to do Halloween, I feel like purple is probably the most goth color you can get out of a light.
Oh, okay. And still emit a light?
Yeah, because like black light isn't really going to work on, like, say, a string of lights.
I feel like I've seen orange and yellow.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's the advent of addressable LED lights that is causing this, because now you can just, like, program your lights to do whatever you want, so why not make them Halloween lights? And
why not?
I don't know, maybe come February you make them, like, red and white or something. Like, let's just keep string lights up all year long.
See, I agree with that.
A lot of those like cotton webs strung across some bushes and stuff like that, and some spiders hanging around. Yeah, we still have to figure out the kids' Halloween costumes, which is always a stressful time. I think we've got a Mega Man, a request for Mega Man, and a request for a mouse. Now the mouse, I think we can handle. The Mega Man, it's gonna be that's a little.
All right, so what do you need for that?
A helmet and a buster.
I think you can get a pre-made Mega Man buster online. I think they make those.
Yeah.
As far as the helmet goes, I feel like you could probably just get like a cheap motorcycle helmet and spray paint it blue if you need to.
Okay. All right. Like one of those like ping pong ball helmets.
Yeah. Okay. And then after that, it's just a blue spandex suit. And
some blue underwear.
Yeah.
And some boots.
Over the thing.
And maybe some like boots. Yeah.
It's not nothing. I'm just saying, I'm not saying there's no work that's got to go into it, but there are some parts out there I think you can just get.
Trying to say maybe like a Kirby or something. A Kirby feels a lot easier. Just like a big trash bag full of garbage with some eyes on it, right?
Hang on. Can you buy a pink trash bag?
Sure.
Almost assuredly.
Trash bags. You sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your Kirby. Suddenly you're Kirby.
I feel like you're talking some shit here about Kirby.
No, I mean, listen, is Kirby a big giant pink trash bag? Yes. Is Kirby also maybe the most powerful character in all of video game lore? Yes. So you could be both.
Is Kirby made out of the same stuff that Peeps are made out of?
I don't think he has like rough a texture, like marshmallow. I don't think he's covered in sugar.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's a little more likely to be made of the stuff that the 1988 The Blob is made of. Because he sure does seem to digest a lot.
I was thinking about that movie after we watched The Thing.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, well, I started to say modern horror movies. I guess The Thing is not so modern anymore.
No, not anymore.
But, more modernish remakes of old classic, like cheesy 50s horror movies.
Yeah, that Blob movie came out 30 years after the original.
Yeah, so it made me think about The Blob was high on that list of like, oh, I saw that in the video store as a kid and thought, man, that looks scary. I wonder if it actually is.
Have you not seen the remake?
No.
Oh, there's a couple of pretty chilling parts in it that I remember.
It's genuinely great.
Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe I should check that out.
Do you think could you judge the disaster of a movie or the greatness of a movie by they haven't tried to do it again? I guess both, right? Like you put something in the grave, or it's so good there shouldn't be a remake.
I don't know if it's that so much as I feel like it was one of those movies that just sort of came and went when it came out and sort of became like kind of a VHS favorite. But like, I mean, for a long time, there wasn't like a good Blu-ray release of that movie. It was only in the last few years that one came around. And I think, eventually the critical consensus caught up to it the way some of those other movies, like just were not necessarily well regarded in their time.
I'm not gonna lie. I mostly remember the phone booth scene as the thing that sticks in my mind as the most terrifying.
That and the guy getting pulled into the sink, which kind of happened to back, is like two of the greatest, grodiest like horror deaths I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Blob, the Blob.
Wait, hang on. That was a game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
It was.
I think there were two of them, maybe. The Blob.
There was Da Blob. There was a boy and his blob. There's been a lot of blobs in video games.
Blob. The Blob
from X-Men. Nothing moves the Blob.
Just blobbing this week.
Not to make every one of these intros about a movie I decided to watch in my own time, but I just want to very briefly mention here. I watched a movie last night that I'm not going to stand here and tell you is good, but I want to celebrate the fact that it even got made.
Okay.
Zombies, The Munsters.
Oh my gosh, we saw that when we were doing our doom scrolling on the... No, doom scrolling is not the right word. Our what are we going to watch, trailer watch on Amazon streaming service, and my wife and I were both like, why does this exist?
That is a valid question,
Why?
if a totally unanswerable question.
As an additional question, how did a Munsters remake get made and I didn't even hear about it? That seems ridiculous.
Also, did you say Bob Zombie?
I thought you said Bob Zombie.
I did say Bob Zombie.
Okay, is that
look, Bob and I are on a first name basis, all right?
Yeah, Bob's a zombie.
Yes, Bob Zom. I have seen, I think, actually every Rob Zombie movie. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And I run very hot and cold on him. But the thing I always admire is that his only real artistic dedication is to paying loving tribute to the shit he liked as a kid. Like, say, the Halloween movies, and also grindhouse horror cinema. And in this case, he also loves the Munsters a lot, apparently.
I mean, their car is basically the original Dracula.
He doesn't even put Dracula in the movie, despite the fact that is Grandpa's car.
Wait, he doesn't put the song in?
The song is not in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, listen, you gotta draw some lines somewhere. It's not even over the credits?
No, it's not.
All right.
But I almost admire the restraint of that. And the thing about this movie is that it is not like the slightly modernized cultural force that the two 90s Addams Family movies were. It is a completely straight-faced, straight-up origin story for the characters of the Munsters that ends with them just starting the Munsters sitcom. Like, it is the intro to the sitcom, but with the new actors.
Wait, so the kids aren't in it? No Eddie?
No Eddie.
And no, what's the cousin who's the normal kid? The like niece?
Oh, is she a niece? Yeah, she's a niece. I forget what her name is, but yeah, she's the one that isn't a monster.
Yeah, right.
Neither of them is there.
Okay, so it's Grandpa, it's
Herman,
and
it's
what's
Lily.
The wife? Lily.
And can you guess who Lily is played by? If you've ever seen a Rob Zombie movie, you will know the answer to this question.
I just looked at the cast list so I can...
I don't know. Nothing. I got nothing.
It's his wife. It's Sherry Moon Zombie.
Oh, okay.
Every movie he makes has Sherry Moon Zombie in it to some degree. So
how does she do as Lily?
She is just playing it completely straight like the sitcom actress. Like, there is like almost no variance whatsoever to the character.
How is the Herman? Because those are, pun intended, those are some big shoes to fill.
Yes, they are. They make him just about as much of a ham as he was on the show. Maybe a little more so.
Is there a lot of lip smacking? Is there a lot of...
There's a little.
Hop, 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 hop. Okay.
There's some stuttering. I mean, he starts out like when he is created. They show him being created by the evil scientist that makes him. who is played here by Richard Brake, just straight up doing Vincent Price, more or less. And they intend to give him the brain of a super genius, but they accidentally give him the brain of his brother, who also died at the exact same time, who was a hack comedian.
Oh, okay. Is that, I don't know if I'm not that up on the Munsters.
No one is. That's the point. That show was on for 2 seasons in the early 60s. Like, Is
it, does this mean to say like the Munsters is just like knockoff or off-brand Addams Family, right?
I don't think that's an unfair assessment. It's like, it's more sitcom-y than even the old Addams Family was, but like, it was definitely of that type.
I think Addams Family had some tooth to it, and I'm not trying to knock the Munsters, and the Munsters were more like Leave It to Beaver, but monsters, and the Addams Family, I feel like I genuinely had some darker stuff going on. Like,
occasionally, there was a lot more murder going on there.
Yeah, right.
Whereas here, it's like the monsters think regular people are hideous and they're scared of them, whereas the people are scared of the monsters. So that's kind of the thing. Yeah. But there's no real like we're going to eat or kill you type stuff.
Right. But there is a pet in the basement as well, right? Isn't there? Doesn't Grandpa keep in the original Munsters?
I forget. Okay, so it has been a real long time since I had Nick at Night and watched a Munsters rerun. But
fair enough, yes.
They do at one point on their honeymoon go to Paris, and then they go into the catacombs and they just rescue a monster from under there.
Okay.
And I think that is their pet.
Okay, yeah. Who's Grandpa?
Some guy. I really, other than Sherry Moon Zombie and Richard Brake, and also fucking the big dude from Lost is in this, Jorge Garcia. I did not really recognize any of the other actors, and also Elvira has a small part in this, not as Elvira.
Good for her.
Yeah,
is it in black and white?
Parts of it are. Most of it is in very, very, very colorful. I will say, again, the reason I'm bringing this up is not because I think this is a great movie. It's not necessarily, but I have a weird admiration for one. Clearly pitching this to someone and just saying, it's like the original What We Do in the Shadows, and then making sure that no one did any additional research before they signed the check. And two, that it is really just a completely straight-faced tribute to this 2-season sitcom from the late 50s, early 60s. Like, there is nothing about it that is modernized other than it was shot today.
Is there an electric guitar in the intro? Is it like a cover of the original song?
They do a remastered version of the original song later on. There is also a part early in the movie where Herman is kind of dabbling in various entertainment mediums, and at one point founds a band that is basically the Cramps.
So does it take place in the 50s or 60s?
No, I think it takes place in modern day, though. There's no real signifier as to when the time is.
Oh, okay. It's a good theme song. Not as good as the Addams Family Finger Snaps, but it's catchy. It's a catchy theme song.
I actually think the Munsters theme is a little catchier.
Oh, wow.
It's got that surf guitar thing.
Yeah.
I can't call it to mind.
No, okay.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah, see?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I watched it. I was kind of mystified. I was mystified by its existence, but I am kind of glad that Bob's out there just making the movies he wants to make. Please giving him checks.
You have to stop saying that.
Never.
Bobby.
Bob Zomb.
Bobby Zombie.
Bob Zoblaw.
Okay,
folks,
that's now the leading candidate for the title of this episode. Until you give me something better.
we are going to talk about games like Grounded, Overwatch 2, and the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow in a little bit. But first, I wanted to present you guys with one other thing before we jump into the games here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I crossed another gaming threshold with the family in that on order are 2 additional gaming headsets.
Oh no.
The kids are about to get their own gaming headsets. I'm very proud.
Wow.
Is this for purposes of communication, or is this you now are staying up late enough that you need to not make noise while you're playing?
No,
games?
I have my own gaming headset. That has been established.
I don't mean you. I mean you.
With the children.
Saying,
no.
All right, kids, you need to.
No.
Knock it off. We're going to bed.
No. This is for we played grounded together as a family. The family that grounds together. No.
No.
Go on.
No.
I told you I need a better title. Keep going.
No, you don't.
Say it.
Nope.
absolutely do
Resounds
not.
together.
How about the family that grounds together, expounds together?
There you go.
There we go.
Very good. And I didn't think this would work, but it did. We were all able to get on the various Xboxes and PCs, the three of us, to play together without Xbox Live being a... Maybe it's because they're family members. I don't know. But turns out I only had one headset that was able to work with my Xbox. So if we want to keep doing that, I need a couple more headsets here to go around, to pass
Hang
around.
on. Are people playing from different rooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I
you need different TVs, right? Because there's
Right.
no
Yeah.
split screen. So I was in the basement with my daughter. I was on a PC. She was on an Xbox on two different monitors. And we were using the audio mixer down here to talk to my son, who was in where my Xbox Series X is, using my gaming headset. So I think so I bought them headsets, the plug, so she couldn't actually hear her gameplay because I was only listening to my gameplay. But I have now seen that game. We'll talk about it more in a second here with Grounded, but I've seen that gameplay run on like 3 different systems, so I have some thoughts on how that thing runs. But
dude, like, we should just talk about it. I also was going to talk about that same thing coming in here because Grounded is kind of all I want to play right now.
Well, let's get into the games. Let's talk about Grounded. This is Obsidian's latest, and I'm not afraid to call it RPG. Survival. Let's call it a survival RPG.
There's a good amount of RPG in there, yeah, for sure.
It is my one regret of being up here at the lake house this week that I was not able to join you on the stream this week because it looked like you guys had fun.
You can stream that thing to a laptop. Like, that's the thing I wanted to come in here and say is, like, I'm playing that game on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Like the version of the game from the Steam store.
Mm-hmm.
I finally broke down and started my own single player game because I couldn't stand it anymore.
Did you just offshoot the other save into a single player
I
one?
started fresh,
Okay.
which like might be a mistake because you mentioned how long it takes to do everything by yourself, and like,
It does take a while.
boy, were we having some trouble with the combat even with 2 of us.
Oh,
I'm I'm not even sure what Orb Weaver Jr. is going to be like by myself. But
And you're playing on normal?
yeah, medium is what it defaults to, is
Yeah.
how they describe it, which is kind of the default. Like, you will die of thirst if you idle too long on this mode. Like,
Yeah.
bugs will definitely kill you, but it's not like completely impossible. Anyway,
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to continue our stream game.
But you could have like splintered it off into your own
Yeah,
save.
it's just like, it just made me, it's another one of those moments that made me realize, like, this framework that Microsoft has constructed and is still in the process of constructing is like kind of awesome, because I started this new save file on Steam, and I'm flying across the country on Saturday, and I'm taking an Xbox Series S with me, and I can just plug that Series S in on the other end of my flight and just keep going with that same save.
So
and that's nuts.
On Steam, does it launch the Xbox app in the background or something?
No.
So
No.
where are those saves going? Like, because it's
Just
clearly not
cloud, baby.
seamlessly into whatever Microsoft's cloud stuff is.
Some-
I mean, you have to sign in with your Xbox ID.
You do. Okay.
on in the Steam version to enable multiplayer,
Okay.
but that's a one time that takes 5 seconds.
So it is somehow linked to your Xbox profile.
Yeah, and they have clearly just extended whatever storage they offer to, like, they store saves for everything in the cloud for free these days.
So you don't
I
need
guess-
Game Pass for that or a
I guess
live account?
I don't think so. So you'd need live to play multiplayer with people.
Yeah, but not for this cloud storage?
No, I don't think
For the
so.
saves?
No, because that would be a single player save. So
Okay.
I mean, the thing that's crazy to me is that it's Steam.
Yes,
To be clear,
that is
like, if this
wild.
was if this was a game out of the Xbox or the Game Pass
Mhm.
receptacle in Windows,
I mean,
it
even
would be-
that's still cool on its own.
I mean, even that is cool, but like, once you start bringing a third-party storefront into it and it still maintains compatibility and it's all just seamless,
yeah.
like, that's rad. And if I wasn't hauling an Xbox with me, I could just stream that game to a browser on a laptop and still keep playing that game or that save file. Like, it's pretty awesome.
I wonder if that has anything to do with like them being Microsoft and part of the Windows architecture.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're like, last I checked, they're number two for cloud compute in the world after AWS. Like, Microsoft has got infrastructure and expertise that, let's say, competitors lack, that allows them to do stuff like this, for sure.
Is it still Azure or is it evolved to something else?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I played on the Windows version, the Windows Store version, and then my son was playing the Xbox Series X version. My daughter was playing on the Xbox X version.
This is the one thing Microsoft still needs to fix, is this naming convention.
Yeah, it's not great. Xbox, yes, I got that right? Series X.
I think
and
so.
then One X. Right?
There's a 1X, there's a 1S.
Is the one white or black?
It's black.
Then it's a 1X.
1X.
Unless it's a launch model, in which case it's just a 1.
No, this is the 1X. And so I'm going to say the 1X doesn't run well. It's pretty choppy.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it was chugging.
Oh, wow. I would have I wouldn't have been surprised to hear like the 1S or a launch 1 was struggling, but I would have thought a 1X would still be doing okay, man.
That was the one I would have expected from.
That's kind of disappointing.
It was a bummer. Because I would look over, and she didn't complain, she didn't care, but I would look over and be like, I wouldn't want to play on that console. The Series X, though, plays just fine. I actually think I might prefer it to the PC version. There seemed to be something... So I'm playing 1080 on my PC. I assume the Series X one is running at something... maybe above that. I don't know. Maybe it's something. I don't know what the frame buffer is, right? I don't know if it's just getting pushed up to 4K before it goes out or whatever. But it looks really nice on the Series X. There's a lot of like really nice translucency in the greenery and the foliage with the light that shines through it. Especially when you have houses made of blades of grass, there's like a glow that can happen to the stuff that I notice more. And I don't know if it's HDR stuff happening on that TV, but or on that console, but it seemed. The fidelity seemed a little nicer than on my PC here, even though I had most of the things jacked up. So I've been playing a lot there. And to your point, Brad, the save stuff so far has been pretty seamless, going from PC to Xbox Series X and back again. They also do, we talked about it a little bit last time, but they do some nice things with sharing your world with people or not sharing your world with people. So you can have your save in single player. So Brad, like your save that is single player, you can turn that into a multiplayer save anytime you want and then kind of revert it back, splinter it off again to be you can play that save either single player or multiplayer, and I think that's really nice. That's a nice thing to have.
I'm kind of glad I started a new single player game though, because it's letting me absorb like little story stuff that I missed because we were streaming and talking over it and not reading anything.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of getting a little more. I mean, not that there's anything super wildly creative going on in the story so far. Like, mad scientist created a shrinking machine, and here we are.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's much more there, but
I think there is. I'm probably, I don't know how long this game is, but I've collected 2 Burgle chips now, and you get some. There's some stuff going on. I've had 2 cutscenes in that game. There is some stuff going on. I don't think it's very elaborate, but there is a propellant for a narrative. Let's say that is more than. I just need to turn back to my normal size. Because you start that game basically with your character not even questioning that they are small. They basically jump out of this weird briefcase with holes cut out of it, and then they're off and running, just trying to survive, and occasionally quipping on, wow, that's a big ant, or something like that. They're never really like, what the hell is going on?
No, they've all seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. They know what's going on.
I mean, you meet Burgle, which is this robotic friend, and you start realizing that someone has been here before you and made some lab architecture around, and there is some exposition in there. But your character really doesn't sit and struggle with the questions of being tiny that much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that there's some story there. I mean, it's not necessary, but it's certainly, some survival games can feel a little dry and lifeless if there's nothing there but survival, but it is the survival parts that really got me in. Well, it's the survival / RPG / I don't know. I think it was the moment when you were like, hey, you see those dandelion puffs up there? You should chop one of those down.
You get your accessory.
And then I chopped one down and realized you can equip the puff in your accessory slot and then use it to glide. And I was like, oh my God, what other items out here that look like they're just part of the background of this world actually let me do cool shit? I have got to go chop everything down now.
I went down a rabbit hole on Monday when I saw you guys were streaming. I was just like, well, I can't play, so I should look into like what I want to do next time we do this. And it's just like, it seems like there is a pretty huge variety of stuff you can build and craft in that game.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just say, to the point where like there was someone in our Discord who was talking about, like, there is a point where you just kind of go off the cliff and the things that terrify you in that game start becoming trivial because you have built such incredible gear and base design stuff and everything. Like, the orb weavers just don't even become a problem anymore.
Yeah, and it's partially because stuff is so deadly out of the gate in that game. Like, there's a lot of bugs out there that'll just kill you in 1 or 2 hits, and also can like outrun you. Also, so like if you piss one off, you're just kind of screwed. And overcoming that slowly, especially as we were crafting like that ant club, man,
it's pretty good.
Once we crafted those ant clubs,
I still use the ant club.
Yeah, like, just that ramp. I mean, everything being super hard and then overcoming that, like. The real Dark Souls starts in the backyard, I guess is what I'm saying.
I've put a decent amount of hours in. I'm playing on mild on the other save, and I actually really like it on mild because there is so much. I think on medium it would have just taken me too. I think I never would have seen stuff. It's just too grindy for my taste. And playing with the kids on mild is fun, and we're really enjoying it. There's just so much to do. There's just a lot to do. I do have a list growing of things I would like to see them change or patch in. Top of that list maybe is sortable chests in inventory, because that is really a pain in the neck. Some other things, though, some automation things. The farming in it I don't think is super great. You'd want to get to a spot where you feel like you cross a threshold in a survival game or a machine building game or something where you've got enough experience where you don't have to do the basic stuff anymore, right? Like, you can farm the thing in your base that you're trying, the resources.
The machines are doing the work for you.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that I'm actually going to get to. There are things like sap collection, there are things like dew collectors, but I still am having to run out and do a bunch of minor tasks for the hunger stuff, like just the maintenance stuff that I wish were not happening. That's spending too much time doing that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I enjoy limiters like that because they can create friction in places you wouldn't expect it, that can sort of, allow for an emergent narrative, if you like. You know what I mean? Like things that would have been mundane all of a sudden, because I'm about to die of thirst, like become very urgent. You know what I mean? Like that. It gives an extra layer or arc of kind of potential drama. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like you could just be out on a run doing whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, oh wait, things are now very dire in a way I didn't expect them to go. Like, it's not like Astroneer would end up in the same way sometimes, or like that is the
right. Your oxygen's running out because
it's totally.
But it kind of, there are ramps to those things where you'll get to a point where you're packing for expeditions, right? Filling up a canteen, making sure you have enough food in your inventory, and then you've got to spend game minutes getting all those supplies together, where the food spoils kind of quickly, so you can't stockpile a lot of it. So
like I cooked I think 7 weevil meats before we went off to find the hedge, and then I signed into that save this morning, and they were all a sliver away from spoiling. So it was like, well, okay, we barely got to where we were going, and now we're just gonna have to forage for more food. But.
So a thing that I would like to see, and I don't think it's in the game, or at least I haven't seen it or read about it, is a refrigerator. That's the kind of level of stuff I mean, where like, you reach a threshold, it's expensive to get, but now you can refrigerate or cook. I think maybe if you keep them on a spit, they might not spoil. So maybe just having multiple spits is the thing to do. And just keep, or the jerky rack, right? Maybe just making jerky out of them.
Yeah, I think that is key to that kind of design, is they need to give you some options to sand down the friction over time if you want to. And like the canteen is that. The canteen is a good example.
Yeah,
of
and the dew collector, for sure.
Right. It's like, you can really mitigate the thirst upkeep by just making a dew collector in a canteen, filling up your canteen, and then you can just drink from that as you roam.
So I don't know if you've gotten there's the milk molars. I don't know if you've found any yet.
No, I haven't done a ton in my new save yet. I'm still like kind of 1 foot in each game, trying to decide which one I want to focus on and stuff. But I mean, like there is so much of that in that game, and that's where the Obsidian RPG stuff comes in. I mean, we may have mentioned some of that stuff last week, but like armor has a bunch of buffs, but also some debuffs on it.
And set bonuses too.
Right. Set bonuses. I still haven't found a milk molar, but those are like permanent upgrades. You get to pick those, right? When you get one, you get to like pick what you want to put it into.
Yeah, so they're basically experience points, and there's two pools of them. There are two types. One is single player and one is multiplayer talent trees, but yeah, not trees really, but upgrades. And it's on the single player, it's things like your thirst and hunger go down more slowly, and your stamina goes up, and they're permanent buffs. Okay. And so you do get to pick where you throw them, but they scale up. So, the first one's like 1 milk molar, and then the second one will be 2, and then there's one that's 3 milk molars, and it's get an extra mutation slot. So they do get expensive.
Yeah, and then there's the mutation. I think the mutations are my favorite style of upgrade in a game like this, because you don't know that they exist until you get one, because they're all passive. Like they all come from you doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like on that stream the other day, I unlocked Ant Annihilator because I had killed like a ton of ants.
Right.
And like you're not chasing a bunch of progress bars to get those, because you can't see those. Like they don't say like, hey, kill 30 ants and you'll get the buff to ant damage or whatever. It just happens in the course of playing the game.
Right.
And it feels very rewarding to just be like, oh, like I chopped down 800 blades of grass and now I've got this upgrade to grass chopping down but
it's a nice background.
It's both passive and a nice surprise when it happens.
And it feels a little different than like Elder Scrolls jumping everywhere to get the jump bonus, right? Or to build up your jump stat, because it's not, there are tiers of them, but I'm not hunting ants because I want to get the Ant Annihilator phase 2,
Right. Yeah, there's just a fantastic sense of progression in the game from multiple angles like that make you feel like you are slowly starting to overcome all the kind of harsh penalties going on.
Yeah, I think the game it's obviously a live game now, and they're adding stuff to it and still tweaking things. I think the UI could be better. There are finding gear, equipping stuff, unequipping stuff could be better. The hotbar, I wish there were more slots or deeper hotbar, because you do wind up filling that thing extremely fast. Lanterns are another thing I wish could toggle on and off more easily with a face button or a key press, instead of having to unequip a lantern, because they run down pretty quickly. And if you find yourself in a situation where your lantern has burnt out and you don't have any more spares, you could be in a lot of trouble. So, that's another one of those places where there is a ton of friction, is that it gets dark as hell in that game. Cool. You cannot see shit at night if you didn't think to bring lights. So eventually you might find yourself, let's say, dark as, all hell and underwater in a tiny cave that has sprouted like 3 or 4 different paths, and it's pitch dark now, and you have your oxygen meter beating down, and your lantern has gone out, and you do not know which way to go, and you die underwater with your backpack under there. And there is a thing that's like, hey, just retrieve my backpack, please.
Really?
Yeah, there is, like, it's in that fix repair game thing.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'm stuck, or hey, repair backpack. And I see why they have it, because I think you can get your backpack in a place that's not
accessible.
I spent a good maybe hour and a half on a backpack run getting it.
Yikes.
Say you parachuted early on, you used the tuft and you parachuted into that poison zone, deep into that poison zone, and you died. Now, how are you going to get your backpack out? Like, you just kind of, the backpack doesn't do the thing that the Souls games do now, which is puts the backpack like 5 seconds before you died. It just puts it where you died.
That seems questionable.
So if you jumped off a giant cliff and landed in a hole, like, your backpack's going to be in that hole. So I can see why. Not that's just an example, but that's kind of stuff. So I spent time getting my backpack by getting it, running back like 2 centimeters in the game, and then dying again, and just slowly inching the backpack back to a place that I could actually recover it. It was stuck in a mosquito nest.
Huh. Interesting.
Those mosquitoes were bad news.
It's good that they put tools in there to rescue you from stuff like that. Like, maybe I'm a weirdo, but stuff like that, like kind of unexpected emergent challenges like that, are like some of my favorite things in games like this. Like, I think I've talked about like the time in Valheim that I dropped a ton of mats on a like 20 by 20 foot square island with a troll on it.
Yeah.
And like, I literally spent 3 hours building rafts and trying to sail close enough to that troll to get all those mats back.
I'm kind of with you, yeah.
Without him wading out into the shallows and just like killing me in one hit with his club. Like, it was kind of like the most fun I ever had with that game.
Yeah, so like I never used that recover backpack button, so I'm not sure what it does, but I could see why it's in there. Like like I said, I spent a good amount of time just inching that backpack out. Another one happened to me underwater where I swam too far in that I shouldn't have swam and had to then spend a long time trying to get backpacks out. But it's cool. Like, I could have left it. There's nothing in that backpack I couldn't have rebuilt. It's just I spent more time getting the backpack than it would have been to get the materials again that were in the backpack. But I had fun getting it. It's the
principle of the thing.
Yeah, you can't have it. Also, that icon stays on the map, and I can never have a loose backpack icon. It's neat. I think the scaling with multiple people feels okay. I don't know if the game gets more challenging with multiple people in it, but there's a trade-off between you're getting the single-player materials versus you have other people to help you out. So, you have to decide who's going to get those ant warrior mandibles in a multiplayer game versus you get everything. You defeated the thing. You can do some trickery with the AI to make things a little easier. You can try and lure. There is bait in the game. You can try and lure things to certain areas if you want to like trap them and smack them with a club while they're in an area they can't get out of. I've killed 2 wolf spiders now by them being stuck in my house. Nice. And I take no shame in it because those things are terrible.
Oh, they're
In
nightmares.
the game. If it's in the game, if the game breaks, if it collapses under its own weight, that's all fair game.
There are plenty of times there's dew stuck in a leaf or a piece of grass and I can't get it out, and so that's super frustrating. There are weird bugs in it where I've had to reset a couple of times.
I was inside of the dying of thirst timer this morning, and like I smacked like 3 blades of grass with dew, and when the dew hit the ground, it just vanished. Like it didn't land in water. Like if it rolls into water, it gets absorbed. But there was no water there. It just like blinked out of existence as soon as it touched down, and that was not great.
Yeah, so that stuff is kind of rough. But overall, for what it's doing, I think it holds together pretty well, and I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I really think it's a cool-ass game.
Am I going to be an unnecessary drain on the team when I return to the group when we start streaming it again?
So the cool thing is, as I understand it, so any milk molar points we get that are the single-player milk molar points, you will actually just have a pool of points to assign when you jump into the game.
Okay.
So it's weird. It's mostly save based, not character based, in terms of persistence. So, but like Brad, when you joined my game, you had nothing.
Yeah, I was like completely bare. Right, I've kind of found myself wishing you had a character that just stayed the character across games. So
when my kids join back in my game, they have all their stuff. So I wonder if it's Xbox Live account based per save as well. So I wonder if you came back into my game again, you would have the stuff you left with in that game.
Huh.
I would guess character progress is tied to world,
but also like you didn't play one of the kids my kids played. You played Hoops, right? No, did you play Pete? I can't remember who you came in.
I was playing Hoops in our save. It lets you pick every time you join those, so you could just switch.
So my daughter plays Hoops in the one that we play, but you didn't get her gear. So I think
I didn't have anything.
So I think it must be save and account based
and
because
user, I think that's right. Yeah.
So I think Alex, you coming in, you'll get some instant upgrades, but also Brad and I will be a little further along, and a lot of the progress is gear based. So if we could just dump the gear on you, you basically come up to where we are. Like
Sick.
It's not that much. Like you won't have the mutations. That's probably the only thing you'd have to spend time getting.
I'll get some mutations. Don't you worry.
Yeah, the crafting has been pretty generous, I think, so far. Like, you don't have to grind too much for any given item you want to make.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where if you're level 0 and somebody just dumps really good gear on you, you come up pretty quickly. Like that, you don't need stats to use the gear. You could just use it.
Right.
So,
okay.
Actually, I would say the biggest hurdle to crafting stuff is just knowing where to get the mats. Like I needed a bunch of mite fuzz to make a bunch of armor, and I had no idea where to find mites or even what they looked like. But then you were like, run 50 feet that way and find the giant log, and the mites spawn all over it. And then as soon as I knew that, it was trivial to get all the fuzz I needed.
So in the Hedge Lab quest, there is a solution for that problem. You unlock a thing that helps you track resources you found before.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they kind of bury it in that first major story quest.
Okay.
And so as you go through that, you get a thing that allows you to track resources you've found before, not resources you haven't found. And that's pretty helpful when you're just grinding resources like NatFuzz. Grounded. It's pretty good. It's on Game Pass. It is $40 on its own. It is on Steam, but it's also in the Microsoft ecosystem. That's what you're looking for. I like it so far. I keep going with it. I wonder if it'll wear out its welcome at some point, or if I'll just be what I would like to see in the game. Obsidian, if you're listening, I don't think it's in there. I did start looking at some wikis for stuff. I want to be endgame, build a base as good as the science bases you find. You know, like
Sure.
like the one that's in the oak tree. I want to be able to. I want my grass house to look like a scientific research station at some point with plastics and materials and stuff like that. So I would like that stuff to be an end game goal. But I'm sure that if this thing does well, which it sounds like it's getting a pretty decent reception, I'm sure they'll put more resources into it. I don't know. Is it taking the streaming world by storm? I don't see too many people going out there.
People who are playing it seem very into it, so I feel like it might be one of those like slow roll kind of like people more and more people start playing it.
Yeah, I don't know that there's enough potential for variation from one playthrough to the next for it to be like huge on Twitch or anything, because you know it's kind of the same story, the same basic set of objectives and so forth every time. But
I like the kids I was talking to because they play a lot of Minecraft, and I was like, "What do you guys think?" And they just want to play Grounded. They were trying to see if they can get their friends to come over and play Grounded with us in this like weird setup. And I felt a little weird being like, your friends can come over, but then you're all going to go to different rooms and play online together in the house. Also, they would have to play under our accounts, which is, I think, weird, unless I added them all as family, I think. Not a lot of kids' friends have Xbox Live accounts. A lot have their Switches and stuff like that, but not as many on the Xbox.
Xbox is the boomer console, is what you're saying?
I think so.
Their tween outreach program has not really yielded too many dividends yet.
I've definitely had more kids say, like, oh my gosh, is that a PlayStation? Versus, what's that big cube you have sitting there? What's that cube your Switch sits on top of?
First of all, it's a rectangle.
That's true. All right. Grounded, out now. Get ready to hear some more about Grounded in the coming weeks, because I think that one's going to stick around for a bit. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, come back with some more games. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Bespoke Post. Brad Shoemaker, are you ready for the fall?
Hang on, wait, I'm going to fall? That sounds bad. I should maybe get some padding around here or something.
Fall down, gear up.
Oh.
With Bespoke Post Box of Awesome.
They didn't even tell us to say that one.
No, that's just pure Caravella. That's just, you get that one for free. No matter what you have going on this season, the Box of Awesome has you covered. Box of Awesome is a bespoke post that puts together like a little gift basket for you, and you get it. I have gotten like a luggage bag, a giant's knife, a pen now, a very nice pen, some whiskey tumblers, some oils that you put the sticks in with the diffusers.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, they're good. They came in handy. We put them in the bathroom. Like we're like, oh, okay. Like, we'll put these in the bathroom. I don't like the lighting of the candle in the bathroom, like, because then you have fire going in there, and it burns out and the whole thing.
Never do the whole just strike a match.
No, this is a little bit better than just keeping a box of matches in there. It's a box of awesome, not a box of matches.
Hey, to be clear, boxes of matches can also be awesome.
Well, you don't know what you're going to get until you take the quiz at boxofawesome.com. Maybe just select matches for everything. Your answers help them pick the right box of awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories, and each box is valued around $70. But you're only going to pay a fraction of that price. Plus, with each box of awesome, you are supporting small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your box of awesome is from a small, up-and-coming brand. You know, like Nextlander. Up and coming to you.
perhaps an up-and-coming small matchmaker. Only locally sourced old timber matchsticks.
Bespoke matches, handcrafted. From my grandfather's favorite match tree. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel any time. Brad, if you want to get in on this, I got a deal for you, and that's 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code Nextlander at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander, and that's going to get you 20% off your first box. Boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander. Thank you, Bespoke Post. And we are back to talk a little bit about Overwatch 2, Alex.
Yeah.
Overwatch 2, a game that came out last week, October 4th-ish, a little over a week ago. Free to play, $10 battle pass. It's got its, was it $40 special edition?
Whatever the case, we said something about the battle pass being $40 last time. That was one of the things I wanted to correct this time. The battle pass is $10.
$10. I think that in the special edition you get a battle pass and then enough credits to buy 2 more if you wanted to spend them on that, right?
The $40 thing was the first thing you see on the store when you look up that game. So, But yes, the actual battle pass on its own is only $10.
Did you get it?
I did not.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I did finally manage to play that game consistently over the weekend, up to a point. And they, in that time when I was able to play without a bunch of queues and server maintenance and other things getting in the way, I can tell you right now, this will probably be the last time I talk about Overwatch 2 for a while. Because
I thought you were going to go the other way. Okay.
Unless something really drastic changes, there is just not a lot there to hold my attention beyond what I already enjoyed about Overwatch 1 and played to death.
Oh, you feel like you got what you needed from Overwatch 1?
I think I got what I needed a long time ago. Yeah. And so getting into a bunch of matches and playing with people more regularly, it's very nakedly apparent that there just is not a lot there. Yes, there have been balance changes. They've made changes to some of the ults and abilities for various characters. But the core gameplay, even in a 5v5 environment, is the same. And I don't know that I like it better as a 5v5 game versus 6v6. And then once I found out when I left, apparently they had a big thing happen where a bunch of people got locked out of characters for a while, and they had to run a bunch of emergency server maintenance to figure out what that problem was. And on top of all of that, they still haven't gotten my account merge right, from what I can tell.
Oh, what's wrong with it?
So I logged on Saturday, and it said I was like 780,000th in the queue or whatever. I was like, okay, this is going great. By the time I was done playing after a couple of hours, it was like, okay, you're almost done. Like I was like 10,000th or something in the queue.
Okay.
And then by the time I was done playing, it was like, oh, your account is merged. So I was like, okay, I'll reboot the app and just see if it worked. I reboot the app. Nothing's changed. None of the stuff, none of the skins or other stuff that I had on my account was unlocked. And then when I logged on again on Sunday, it was like, you're 580,000th in the queue.
Great.
So something is not working there.
Okay. They got to merge you again.
Yeah, I saw they also turned off the SMS authentication requirement for a lot of people.
Okay.
Just to get them in.
Because the reason they turned that on was to avoid people having like multiple accounts so they could play against like low ranked players or whatever. But they also failed to acknowledge that like, hey, a bunch of people only have like pre-bought cell phone plans. They don't have like a regular cell phone texting account necessarily. So, and they were like blocking people who had prepaid cell phone plans from using that stuff, which I think is fairly dumb. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I keep playing it, and the thing I keep hitting in the back of my mind, not that there are only 2 online shooters in the world, but there are really only 2 that I play with any regularity. I kind of just wanted to keep playing Splatoon 3.
Okay. I mean,
like, I just wanted to go back.
There's definitely a sense from the little bit I played and the little bit I had played that how do I express this the right way? I think it's what you're saying. The reasons I put it down were still there. Like the reasons I had stopped were like, oh, I don't know if this is doing anything that different than why to make me want to get back into it, other than I just haven't played Overwatch in a while. And now that I've played a little bit more of it, unless you guys wanted to play, I don't know if I would seek it out.
But it has a 2 right there at the end of the name. It's the sequel to Overwatch. Don't you want to come back and play the all-new sequel to Overwatch?
I did. I tried it. And, yeah, you know, there's already so many characters in there, and I suspect they will continue rolling out characters, though that's going to be a hell of a roster in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing in terms of drastic changes is the PvE stuff, which is what they originally pitched the sequel as having, literally at the announcement. Like, hey, it's going to have a whole new, you don't have to play against other people, you can play against the E, not the P.
Yeah.
Now, and then they managed to not launch with that, and I don't know that they've said a ton about what it is, have they?
No, they haven't, and they haven't shown a great deal of anything regarding that stuff. Like, I think a lot of the beta stuff they did leading up to it was very focused on just getting the multiplayer working. And like, the hurdle this game had to clear was not only just does it need to be more interesting or at least different enough from Overwatch 1 to get past, you know, the eventual wall I ran into with that game where I just played too much of it, but it also kind of needed to leapfrog the fact that, like, playing Blizzard products right now feels fucking weird and is probably not going to stop feeling weird for the foreseeable future. And it does neither of those things. And I am now at the point where I'm just like, I think I have given this game my professional, you know, consideration and due, and I've had enough. I'm good. I'm more than happy to go play some other stuff right now because there is nothing here that justifies calling it Overwatch 2 or the problems that they have repeatedly run into with this launch.
Yeah, they as predicted last week, I have not played Overwatch 2. And I don't intend to until the PvE stuff gets added at this point. Like, they sure enough missed my brief window of caring about this game with server instability.
Yeah.
But, like, I think that stuff could be interesting, you know, with, like, the PvE modes are cool in general, and with the, you know, with the variety and the potential team synergies that exist with the, you know, relatively complex characters of this game. I mean, you know, like a Left 4 Dead or even like the Splatoon Salmon Run is cool already, right? So, like, add a bunch of heroes with different powers on top that can synergize in different ways. Like, that could be really cool.
Well, and they did that.
If they ever add it.
They did it in Overwatch 1 as, like, seasonal events. They had these PvE, like, story events you could do where you would go in and play as, you know, sometimes it was a preset team, sometimes it wasn't. But, like, in those, you know, yeah, it showed some potential. They were never very complicated, nor were they very long. But, you know, for seasonal DLC events, they worked. And I feel like if you flesh that out into something more elaborate, that could be really interesting. They just don't have anything to show for it right now.
It's also so crazy to me sitting here having this conversation to remind myself occasionally what Overwatch started out as.
Oh, like, yeah, it was supposed to be an MMO originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude, like, it's so... Because Overwatch blew up so much subsequently, it's so hard to remember that it actually, like, this originally was the successor to World of Warcraft. Like, this was not a multiplayer shooter at all. Like, it was intended to be a PvE team. Like, it would have been a more PvE-focused thing to begin with.
I have no idea how that game would have worked, and the thing they ended up with, yes, it does feel like they backed and tripped over themselves into something that people really liked. And that is really apparent, I think, in the sequel, where it feels like they just didn't have anything that was really meaningful to add to this thing. They're like, and if, in a way, they seem terrified of pissing off the existing player base, which they had already kind of pissed off over time with the various balance changes and character changes they made. And it's like the most drastic thing they do in this game is make it 5v5, and I can't tell you that feels better or more interesting than the way it was before.
Have you done any rank stuff? Or is rank stuff
No, because you have to have 50 wins in the quick play mode to play the ranked, and I don't know if account merging would change that or not, but I can't find out because my account won't merge right.
Wait, hang on. You have to have 50 wins just to do the placement matches?
To do the competitive play, they won't let you in unless you have 50 wins in quick play.
Kind of a lot.
But you would blow that out of the water, right? If your account just merged?
Well, if they're counting wins from Overwatch 1, then yes, I would just be automatically in competitive, because I definitely have more than 50 quick play wins in Overwatch 1.
Did you do any of the role queues, or are you mostly just doing the general?
I did both. I did the general, and I did role queues. You know, like, I'm happy to play tank or healer. and that seemed to be where the most need was. But yeah, like, I mean, I've won a decent number of matches, but it's gonna be a while before I get to 50, and I'm not even sure I'm gonna.
Right. Overwatch 2 out there.
It exists.
Now, is there a Switch version of this playable?
Oh, actually, sorry, real quick, I just looked this up. Like, you might actually be getting screwed by the faulty account merge stuff.
Oh no.
According to .esports, for anyone who's played the first Overwatch competitively, the competitive mode in 2 should be already unlocked, but new users will have to play through a guided first-time user experience, then win 50 quick play matches first.
Yeah, so if your thing does merge, you should get it, but it sounds like you're just getting caught in a broken...
Maybe one day it'll merge, and maybe one day I'll care. I don't know.
One day. Overwatch.
I'm not trying to be like overly dismissive. I'm just bummed about this thing, man.
Sure. It seems it has to make it. I think you said at the beginning, it needs to make itself necessary, and so far it feels a little unnecessary, right?
Yeah, and especially, you know, coming in such close proximity to another online shooter that I did tire out of also in Splatoon. Splatoon 3 rekindled my interest in that game and playing that game. This did not. Listen,
Splatoon 3 to me feels very Splatoon. It is.
It's not radically different, but it's just well made.
Yeah, and it worked. You got in, right?
Yeah, I got in.
All right, that's Overwatch 2. The other game here, I feel like I am minutes away from finishing, and we'll probably just finish after this podcast, is the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. It is a point-and-click adventure game. If you're familiar with Wadjet Eye's offerings, this will feel very familiar.
This is the Wadjet Eye thing you kept bringing up. Okay.
Yes, it is by Cloak and Dagger, is the developer. Wadjet Eye put it out. It is pixely, it is point-and-clickery, it is well voice-acted, and I think a fantastic point-and-click adventure game that does not feel like it overstays its welcome. I've enjoyed it. It's
so hard for me to look at screenshots of this game, having played all these old point-and-click adventure games recently.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like this is something that should not exist. Like, the idea that somebody is still making games just like that in 2022 is, like, hard to wrap my head around. Like, it's spot on enough that I can tell you, like, oh, they're using the LucasArts style of dialogue display, because it's just, like, text over a character's head floating in the environment, you know? It's like, oh, okay, I see exactly what the specific visual references are for this game.
Yeah, it's very old school in the mechanics, but it has trappings of a modern adventure game. It's got a quick travel so you can get to different screens very quickly. It's got a double click to jump to the end of a screen to the next screen. It's got skip dialogue per line, which is I always look forward to. But again, it really comes down to, I think the pixel art is very good and the voice acting is very good.
This actually looks pretty cool.
It's cool. At least what I've played so far.
Described as a folk horror adventure in rural Victorian England.
Like okay, you're speaking my language here.
That seems like a pretty cool setting for something like this.
Yeah, it's got basically the story is this woman goes, what's her name? Thomas Lena winds up going to this kind of sleepy old town to go. She's writing a book on barrows, burial mounds, and goes to the sleepy town. And this small sleepy town is a little bit reluctant to talk about this barrow she's investigating. And it's kind of like a Wicker Man-esque vibe. That's all with the bees, right?
Vibe I'm getting from this.
Yeah, we don't talk about the barrows kind of vibe to it. I mean, it's all in Victorian England, but I mean,
have you guys watched much folk horror in your time?
Not really.
Okay. It's very much its own kind of genre. You know, it tends to focus much more obviously on the folkloric versus like the modern monster. But like, I always find it to be a really interesting genre when it's done well. There haven't been a lot of games, I feel like, that have dug too deeply into it, though Mundawn, which came out last year, was definitely one. I always like those kinds of settings, though. I feel like there's a lot of really I don't know. I just feel like when it's done well, like those settings have just a built-in kind of dread to them.
Yeah, for sure. I have not watched a lot of horror of that nature, but I sure did read a lot of Nathaniel Hawthorne in college, so I get you for sure.
Like it's a little slow moving, but I don't mind. It's, there's a lot of people interactions in it. The puzzle solving in it has been pretty straightforward, but in a way I appreciate it. It's not dumbed down, but the thing you think you should do is usually what you have to do. Where you're like, oh, I need to go find a chicken egg somewhere, and you're like, oh yes, okay, I need to go find a chicken egg. That's right. It doesn't wind up being like, I need to go find a cow to trade for a chicken. It's usually what you think you need to do, and then you just have to hunt it down, and you're never really that far from getting it. So it is called The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. It is $15. I played it on Steam. I believe it's also on GOG if you are in that ecosystem. I recommend it. So far, again, haven't finished it, but I feel like I am extremely close to finishing it. It does not feel like there are many screens left in this game.
How long do you think it took you?
I can tell you he has spent 6.3 hours playing this game.
Okay, 6.3 hours. So I
probably
would say,
about an 7 to 8 hour experience.
No, I would say 6.3.
5.
Yeah, you
6.35.
You said I'm 6.38. How many am I?
6.3.
Yeah, 6.35. Yes, I am like. I literally think I might be like 10 minutes away from finishing this.
Okay.
Game.
I have downloaded this game since we started this segment.
Yeah, I
have to check this out.
It's a little bit of a slow start, but I kind of like it. And I think it starts to get moving. I think the voice acting is also very good. So
you can buy the soundtrack on cassette tape.
So that's a thing now.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. I think I had heard at some point that like tapes, excuse me.
People
we're starting to
take on.
People are starting to take on the nostalgic reverence for tapes that they have had for vinyl for some time.
That's objectively the worst music format there is.
Seriously.
Would you say 8-track is better?
I think 8-track is like actually higher quality than cassette, right?
It is. Like cassette tape is absolutely the worst audio quality you can get out of any major format.
And doesn't 8-track have a provision for seeking to
the
specific
tracks.
songs?
Yeah. The tracks you could jump to.
Dude, yeah, like cassette has none of that. Like, also, I hate saying cassette. I just have to say it to specify what I'm talking about. Back in the day, they were just tapes.
Yeah.
But why would you do that to yourself?
There is like a weird post-ironic fascination with cassette tapes right now. Like some indie bands have been putting out like tape-only, demos and like singles and stuff. And it's just, I don't think this is going to last.
The one and only thing tapes were good for were taping songs off the radio.
Yeah.
Or taping a copy of someone else's album.
Or yes, like friend had a CD and I would for educational purposes only.
Uh-huh.
Or hooking your, say, like your SNES up to your tape deck and recording the sound mode. If you want to record all the songs, the music from Street Fighter. The fight music. It was pretty good for that. Recording things. That's what it was good for. Or
that's what it was for.
Recording yourself with a microphone.
Look, they were called mix tapes for a reason. That was what you used them for, was to make tapes for girls. Or guys, whatever. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Sadly, the mix mini disc did not catch on in the same way.
No, it really didn't. The thing I was going to ask was, how would you guys feel about maybe like the week of Halloween or the week before Halloween? Oh, Vinny's holding up tapes.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I just happened to recently have a bunch of my tapes here, and some of them are mixtapes. I was going to read you guys the back of one of these tapes.
Please do. I want to see what you got. But the thing I was going to ask was, how would you feel maybe like that week before Halloween, maybe trying Mortuary Assistant again?
Oh, man. I've been
thinking about that game for some reason.
You're cursed. That's why.
Yeah.
This tape has... You'll like this one, I think, Alec. Mm-hmm. It's got the Beatles all crossed out on it.
Okay.
Scribbled out. It used to have about 10 Beatles songs, and next to it, scribbled, it just says Deftones, Bored, minus Blindfold, Poets, and 7 words.
Okay, so 5 songs from the first Deftones album.
Somebody must be me or a friend of mine. It doesn't look like my hand in writing, and then it says on the front just mixed Deftones.
Amazing.
Just taped over this Beatles tape and put a bunch of Deftones on it.
Incredible.
That's why tapes are good.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against the Beatles. It's just you can go from Beatles to Deftones just like that.
I mean, if you got to choose between one or the other, I mean, I don't respect anyone who wouldn't choose Deftones.
Wow. Including Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Who, huge Deftones fan. That's going to do it for the games. That's Grounded, Overwatch 2. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. I don't even think I have a thing I could play a tape in, honestly, in this house. Do you guys have a tape deck?
Not a working one.
I have, I believe I still have Tord Thorson's handheld cassette recorder somewhere in a box.
Is that mini cassettes or that's a full size?
No, it's full size.
Oh,
full
wow.
size. He let me borrow it for something, and I... anyway.
Wow. That's,
never give back.
No. Alex?
I don't think I have a working one at this point. I might have an old one in a box somewhere, but I have not had a working cassette player for at least half a decade.
I believe the tape in that thing is the one that has all my interviews with celebrities on it from GameSpot. By celebrities, I mean Frank Welker, voice of Megatron.
Keep them.
And Kirsten Dunst.
You got to digitize those.
And maybe one or two others, I forget.
Does Tor's cassette thing have any way? It's probably predates being able to plug into anything digital, yeah?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. R.I.P. Tor.
Yes.
He's drinking hot sauce in heaven now.
That's going to do it for the games. We're going to take a quick break. We are going to come back and do some news. Stick around. And we're back, and it is time for the news. Sorry. We are back, and it's me, the news.
Oh, boy.
And we've got some stuff going on. You might be aware, but there is the internet was abuzz with Chris Pratt and Mario takes.
It was and it wasn't. I don't know, man. I thought we would be all like, well, we're living in a new world now. I think he did basically the least interesting thing he possibly could have done, which is basically just play himself.
So we got a Mario trailer that was basically a Mario Direct that was showcasing some of the movie. It was.
Let's be real. It was a Bowser Direct.
They showcased the never before seen trailer, live footage, not live, but footage in motion of the movie. Basically, the first time we've seen anything from the movie. And we got some voice acting. I'll tell you this: my kids watched it. My kids' reaction: Mario sounds weird.
Okay.
Unprompted.
All right. There you have it.
They both, I watched it with my daughter. She said, Mario sounds weird. And I watched it with my son. Said, Mario sounds weird. And I said, what do you think? Are you excited to see it? And they were both said, hell yeah. So they, both,
nothing will stop them.
They both love the penguins. The penguins, they said, oh man, the penguins are super funny.
Maybe I just need to turn in my Mario card here. I'm trying to think where those penguins are from exactly, and like
it's Mario 64, isn't it?
I guess so. Are they
not? I think that's where they first showed up.
I thought there definitely are penguins in Mario 64. You're not wrong.
So you got Jack Black as Bowser. Kind of what people seem to really like Jack Black's Bowser, and I don't disagree.
I think he's doing a perfectly acceptable and enjoyable spin on the character, it sounds like.
Jack Black, it feels like he could have ended up sucking so much and instead is awesome.
Yeah.
You know he's a showman.
Oh, you mean in general or in this Mario
No, in
trailer?
general.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to think how to qualify that. Like, I loved Tenacious D when Tenacious D was just like shorts on HBO.
Yes.
But like, it feels like, God, I'm trying to think how to it feels like he could have kept doing that exact shtick forever and nothing else. But like, he has proven to have so much range and is just very accomplished at what he does in a way that is awesome and not grating. You know what I mean? Like
he knows how to modulate it.
Yeah, like his act could have gotten old 15 to 20 years ago. But he has managed to keep it going.
There's some Jack Black stuff that I get tired of the Jack Black shtick. I feel like you got the kind of over the top dial turn to 11 stuff.
Yeah, or I guess what I mean is like he's able to play other dramatic roles and rein that in really well.
I loved him in Jumanji. I think he was very good. I think he's pretty good.
I don't think Peter Jackson's King Kong is amazing, but like he does a good job with that role, for example, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And not just being Jack Black, like, and playing this more kind of anachronistic thing. Anyway, Jack Black's cool.
Yeah. So I think he does a perfectly, I think he'll bring something to Bowser that is an additive quality.
No.
Yes. Such as his voice and making Bowser look a little like Jack Black, which is a little weird, his face.
Also, I guess this was rumored. People were saying it in chat as we were watching that direct last week, and I had not kept up with leaks about the movie, but it seems like Jack Black has kind of confirmed it since this happened, that this movie apparently is going to be a musical. Which is the most exciting thing.
Are musicals.
Well, yeah, but like, yes and no. Like, there's a difference between like the Shrek style of we are playing like some classic rock in the background of the song and like having actual musical numbers.
I also think there is a differentiation between a straight up musical and a movie that does have musical numbers.
Like that's what I'm saying is like if the characters are breaking into dance routines and singing about things that are in the story, then it is very much a musical.
If they do it more than twice, if it's only 2 songs and it's not a big part of the movie, I wouldn't call that a musical.
Like Little Mermaid musical?
Yes, 100%. Like I weirdly have been down a rabbit hole about like that 90s kind of golden age renaissance of Disney animation the last couple weeks, and like 100%. Like
so all Aladdin, Little Mermaid,
Little Mermaid is literally the movie that established that template of like high quality feature animation and like Broadway songwriters and stuff. So if they're doing that, that is very exciting.
Encanto, musical. Have you not seen Encanto?
I haven't seen Encanto.
Have not seen it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't have kids, Vinny.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's just good. It's just good. All right. Well, I could take it. I wonder what they'll be singing about, though. Are they going to be trying to sneak in some lyrics in there?
Yeah, no. There's that stuff has been leaked about that.
Like, there's a leaked script out there, isn't there?
Yeah, that's where the stuff was coming from prior to this trailer, and then Jack Black making some comments that makes it kind of sound like that's the thing. In one section, this is from Video Games Chronicle. I think Jeff Grubb actually is the one who has reported on some of the stuff. It was claimed that the film features a handful of songs with various characters singing at different points, including Mario, Luigi, Toads, and Bowser.
Mm-hmm.
In one section, Bowser is said to sing as viewers are shown his younger years and his desire to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. There's also another song about plumbing, presumably sung by the Mario Brothers.
See, like, I wonder if they're original songs or...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Like, I could see them doing songs, well-known songs, and doing a montage of Bowser coming up, but doing, like, I don't know, a cover of some slightly modern Imagine Dragons song or something.
Well, see, that's Shrek. That's not like a proper musical. That's just the Shrek thing.
Let's see.
But we're really burying the lead here. I mean, we're not talking about the thing that everyone was going to talk about until they heard it, and then they stopped talking about it.
That's the whole thing. There's nothing to talk about.
I know.
Well, he's
just a guy.
We saw a sliver of Chris Pratt doing Mario. We basically got 2 lines. One is just Chris Pratt, where he's like, "What is this?
Where am I?
Yeah, what is it?" And then the other one, he gets a little bit of like a Brooklyn/Boston-ish thing going on.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Here we come. So yeah, he gets a little bit there. So maybe that's where things are headed.
If he makes Mario Bostonian, he is going to ignite a war between New York City and Boston, the likes of which has not been seen since the heady days of the Knicks-Celtics rivalry.
There's nothing that says Mario can't be Irish. Can't be Irish.
No, I think there is. I think that is actually a fairly stated fact that he cannot be Irish.
I just listened to it, and the way he pronounces the word here,
I can't even.
very much sounds like, "Hey, I'm working here."
Yeah,
is what it sounds like what he's going for.
But someone told him to dial back the "Hey, I'm working here" by about 5 points.
I need more to come to a conclusion. It also doesn't help that the other line he says sounds completely flat, like without any kind of accent. So, who knows?
I will say it is nice to see an inversion of the Sonic problem where people are freaking about a voice and not really freaking out that much about the character design. The character design does feel like a little bit off to me, but I think what I realized is they just made his head smaller, and that's kind of it.
It's not all they made smaller.
I'm sorry.
His booty. His booty?
Well, he has no booty.
His derriere.
Yeah.
His posterior.
You get a little bit of Charlie Day going.
That's not Charlie Day. That's Keegan-Michael Key.
No, as Luigi, who does
Wait, did they show that?
Yeah, he's running away at the end. He goes like, ah, ah, ah,
yeah.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which
his
is
audio did not even register for me in that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Luigi going, ah, 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 which is okay, great.
Charlie Day played Luigi's Mansion.
Yes.
Yes. And then you get Toad, which I think sounds great. I think I think that's good.
If you're not just going to do the screechy high voice, then by all means, this will be fine, I'm sure.
I thought
Does that Toad get a name?
Toad. What is it in IMDb? Is it just Toadsworth?
I'm going to tell you right now, I bet the running joke is that they all just refer to themselves as Toad, and the big joke is that they're trying to tease out what his first name is until the end of the movie.
I could absolutely see it just being like
That's
hey Toad, hey Toad, how's it going? You know,
that's my brother Toad, right?
Yes.
My brother Toad, my other brother Toad. That will be a joke in there somewhere.
I mean, Brad, you never saw the Bob Hoskins Mario, but Mario's name is Mario. And his brother's name is Luigi Mario. Yes. So it can't get much dumber than that. I don't know. It's about what I expected. I think we talked about it a lot on the previous podcast and the lead up to it, which is you're not going to go full Charles Martinet or Martinet. Martinet. I got to confuse.
Martinet, I believe.
Martinet, because you can't
legally.
Well, I don't think you can do it for a lead, but also. You're probably just going to do a Brooklyn thing, but can Chris Pratt pull off a good Brooklyn accent the entire time? That's now. I'm
going to come out on a limb here. I'm going to say something controversial.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, Garfield's got a voice, right? He's going to be Garfield.
What does that mean? What are you trying to communicate?
Like, Garfield also has been in animated form before, and I don't just mean the movies. He's, got that, hey, what's going? Like he's got.
You're talking about Lorenzo Music. You're talking about the Garfield the animated series.
Yes, exactly. So if you stray too far from that, or do you run into a similar problem where like that's not Garfield's voice, or does Chris Pratt just do the same Mario voice he's doing for Garfield? What is this place?
I don't think he has other voices. I think he has slight inflections, and that is it.
I really don't. Yeah, because Bill Murray kind of did the same voice, right? Like he really followed the Lorenzo Music template, right?
Well, yeah, it's in the irony there being that Lorenzo Music followed the Bill Murray template when he voiced Peter Venkman on the cartoon.
Okay, yes. Well,
that's a little.
This is really just a
snake eating its own tail.
That's a Bill Murray eating something.
Well, let's be real. These are all better actors we're talking about than Chris Pratt. So,
yes, that's the unfortunate reality here.
I don't mind Chris Pratt's role in things like
it's the Lego Movie, a great movie.
Yeah.
That has apparently wrought a level of cultural destruction that we could not have seen coming.
So the interesting thing in the Lego Movie, he's supposed to be a giant square. Right, I don't mean like a square brick. I mean like he's supposed to be the normal every guy and maybe was cast as like, oh, your voice just sounds like vanilla ice cream, right?
And that is somebody what you cast him for.
We need the most generic dude sounding person we can find.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh crap, now he's voicing everything. Oops.
But I like his Star-Lord. I like the Guardians. I don't know if it's the supporting cast more I like in the Guardian stuff, but I enjoy those movies.
Well, I'm talking more animated stuff. It feels like he's kind of the same thing to all these animated things he's doing now.
It's a little like the Kevin Costner of voice acting-ish of You just kind of get this, and that's what you get. Curious to see how the rest of it shakes out. We didn't get any Donkey Kong or Princess Peach. We did get some Kamek, which I thought was kind of funny. That's all kind of opens with Kamek speaking, and kind of is weird just to have a character talk right away, right? Was that your guys' initial gut thing too? Is like, oh, right, okay, yes, we're talking. That's going to happen.
Yeah, kind of.
I just think that we are in the unique position of being completely brain broken about this thing because we have spent the last 40 years basically just hearing one version of the Mario voice, and then also the the two Bob Hoskins and Captain Lua Albano divergences.
Yes. Yep. And they're both perfect.
Yeah.
Now we have to.
Now we have this,
and now we have to. I think it looks good. I think the
animation's nice.
Yeah. Or like the palette they're using. The characters generally look pretty good. Again, I think Bowser looks a little Jack Blackish, which is just weird. But you do what you do.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a really high fidelity version of the CG that they do for the games.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's fine. I think.
I think that's what you have to do for that.
Just another reason why the Switch needs an upgrade, so we can get those graphics on the Switch. You think they'll make a game version of this?
No,
absolutely
not a chance.
Not. You think Mario talks in any game?
No.
Yeah, he already talks. Sounds like Charles Martinet. What are you talking about?
At some point, Charles Martinet will have to retire or will want to stop doing this. And granted, you could probably just use the 40 years of recordings to just make Mario games for the rest of eternity, but I'm not sure if that'll work.
The guy works like 3 days every 4 or 5 years. Like, why would he ever stop?
There are WarioWare games. There's other things happening. I'm curious to see the rest of it. I'm excited to see this movie. But I think it's funny because I feel like everybody who was ready and girding themselves for this was pretty much like, oh yeah, no, that's the thing we thought it was going to be.
We way overhyped ourselves into believing something would happen that did not.
So that was a Mario trailer. Fun story. Regardless of where you fall, it's kind of goofy. It's kind of fun. That movie's going to make a bajillion coins. It will make Nintendo even richer. Chris Pratt will become the one who does the voice of everything, will become even richer. They'll make at least one more of these, I suspect. Fun story all around. This next story, I hate this story. And I'm going to let you take it, Brad, because I don't even like reading anything about it. I didn't like reading it for the show. I didn't like seeing it come in my news feed. The whole thing is terrible.
The short version is there was some kind of foam pit at the Lenovo booth at TwitchCon in which numerous people got fairly severely injured, including Adriana Chechik, who broke her back. Several other streamers also. I was looking at tweets over the weekend. Let's see, also to be clear, that I saw at least one other person who got injured at TwitchCon, not at this thing. I saw a streamer who had broken their ankle at TwitchCon and went out of their way to say, no, this was not in that foam pit, but they didn't say where it was, so I don't know what the hell was going on at TwitchCon this weekend.
I think we need to say that she's having surgery, or she's maybe had surgery at this point, getting a metal rod in her back. She broke it in 2 places. It doesn't sound like, or I couldn't see anything that went into lasting paralysis or any damage to her spinal cord.
No, it seems like it will be recoverable, but nonetheless, it's just so this foam pit, which was a co-branded thing, I believe, by Lenovo and Intel.
Yes.
Was just a bunch of hard foam cubes in a very shallow pit.
Oh God, I hate this whole thing. I hate it so much. She landed on her tailbone. Is that what happened?
She just went butt first onto the foam, and it did not result in anything good.
Yeah. There's another streamer that I saw over the weekend that's mentioned in this Kotaku story who dislocated her knee in that pit as well.
I hate all of this.
Lawsuits inbound, I would assume.
Oh man.
Geez, man, how does this even happen at a major convention?
People are idiots. Not the people necessarily jumping in. Having an adult foam pit and having it be about 4 inches deep. god awful. I hate it.
Also, at the top of this whole thing is the world's largest corporation.
Yeah. Oh, man. And
or at least I think they still are.
And so they were like battling it out, right? You're talking about Amazon?
Yes.
Was it like American Gladiators, like a battle on these two podiums and get knocked into a phone pit?
No, it was. They might have been doing something like that, but in this case, they were also just letting people jump in from this little pedestal that looked like an American Gladiators pedestal.
Ugh, I don't know. It's a whole thing.
I mean, Twitch seems like they are trying to distance themselves from this thing, saying that, like, you know, hey, this was their installation. We didn't really have any say in that, but also this is your show. What the hell are you doing? Everything about this seems like there are at least 3 layers of, you know, testing and security and responsibility that should have been there beforehand.
I wonder if this was a thing that's like, that got set up and they were like, you cannot jump into this. There's no diving into this. This is in case you fall while you're on these pedestals, while you're having these mock battles. Because the pictures I see have 2 pedestals and like basically squishy Nerf club things. And I wonder if the original setup was like, that's what you're supposed to do. And then the people supervising it allowed people to do jumps into it, which it was never intended for.
Truly don't know, but even as a American Gladiators like thing, like that is not a good setup for that, because even landing on your side on those cubes does not look like it would be good.
No, I'm not excusing any of it, but this whole thing, I hate this so much. I hate it.
Crazy to me because you tend to think things are better these days with stuff like event organization, and like you would go back like 15, 20 years and say like, oh, some of those cons were not run super well by modern standards. So for this, I mean, this is far worse than anything I ever heard about happening at different kinds of events back in the day. Like, it's just crazy.
TwitchCon in general seemed a little, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it all seemed a little like, I know it wasn't thrown together, but the vibe of it felt very much like, this is our first big thing back, everyone's back. And it seemed like everything about it was a little ramshackle.
Yeah. I wonder what I'm happy the people who are injured from this hopefully are on a road to recovery and it's not worse than it is, because this stuff just sends chills down my entire body of, as an adult who you can get injuries that you don't recover from.
As someone who pays healthcare costs in this country, yes, this makes my spine crinkle into, a little ball.
Yeah, and the people who are participating in this who are not aware that there's safety hazards in this also just makes me extremely mad. That you could go to do this thing and not realize you're putting yourself in danger and not have the supervising staff or the people trained or the people who built it aware that this could happen is scary. To be like, hey, it's like some bad Carney shit. Like, oh, the salt and pepper shaker flew apart kind of stuff.
Also, all the people on social media who saw this and had the first reaction of just making shitty jokes about it, because if you don't know, Adriana Chechik is a former adult actress, or still, I'm not sure if she still is, but the number of awful jokes about this out there was fucking disgusting.
Wait, how do you make a joke about somebody nearly getting paralyzed?
I am not going to repeat a lot of the stuff I saw.
Don't.
Okay.
But I know what jokes you're talking about, and
it was just like, fuck, I could not believe that shit. It's like, oh my god, like, this is a human being, and this is a very grievous injury. Like, how the fuck are you such a pile of walking shit that this is your response to somebody suffering something that's awful?
I don't want to talk about this one anymore. I hope everybody who is injured has the support and recovery situation that they need to get back literally on their feet. And I hope whoever is responsible for this is punitively suffered. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know.
The response from Lenovo also was just like so downplayed, this whole thing. Like, Kotaku got a quote from Lenovo. We are aware of the incidents of TwitchCon visitors who sustained injuries in the Gladiator game soft foam pit at the Lenovo booth. The area has since been closed for any further use while we work with event organizers to look into the incidents.
I really wonder if it's the thing where they needed to be like, you cannot do these certain things in this pit, and nobody fucking supervised it.
It's just, I mean, that statement, though, is just like so mechanical.
Oh, that is like, we can't say too much because we are going to have lawsuits against us.
Yeah, yes.
Like, we will say the words, we are looking into it. We will say the words soft foam pit.
Yeah. have to imagine multiple jobs are going to be lost over this.
There will hopefully be some kind of lawsuit because, you know, like, again, I come at this also from my kids go to these fucking trampoline centers all the time, and I have to constantly, you know, I'm always thinking like, all right, you know, you're supposed to have one kid on a trampoline at a time, and here are like 7 kids dogpiling on this trampoline, and, you know, are people watching and all this stuff.
I almost fucked up my back in one of those places one time, and I was like, you know what, I'm good, I'm done. The close call was enough.
Yeah. All right. I hope everybody, the people who were hurt, find what they need to find, whether that's physically, financially, like you said, Alex. That stuff is not cheap. Medical care. Let's move on to some happy news, right? Everybody loves to hear about Meta.
Happy for some people, sure.
Yeah.
Happy for somebody.
I don't know. I just thought threw this in there because we have first-hand experience with some of the studios involved.
What is this story?
Facebook went on a little shopping spree and bought a handful of small game development studios. I refuse to call them Meta.
I respect that. I respect it.
Everybody who reported on this is just like, Meta has acquired these teams to work on VR games. Like, come on.
It's just for my own edification, is Meta a parent company of Facebook, or is it a rebrand of it?
Possible in terms of corporate structure that it might be like Google and Alphabet, where it's like an umbrella. Or I don't know if they literally just renamed.
Okay.
Or maybe they established a new corporate entity that's called Meta. I really don't know, but it's Facebook.
Facebook is still a product too, right? Like it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So what did they buy here?
They would argue this was their attempt to create a larger brand around the disparate products and markets that they're in, which sure. VR is not the same thing as social media as much as Mark Zuckerberg would like all of them to blend together, but still they're really just trying to run away from all of the stigma around the name Facebook. Anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, this is for the Oculus Meta, whatever you want to call it, arm of the company. They acquired Camouflage,
which people might not be familiar with.
That's studio founded by Ryan Payton. Mm-hmm. Metal Gear Solid 4 veteran Ryan Payton, who we know and have worked with off and on over the years. They made Republic.
Yep.
Was their kind of their big original game, but then they made that Iron Man VR game for PlayStation VR, which was pretty neat.
It was pretty well regarded, I think, too.
Yeah,
right?
It was pretty neat from the little bit I played of it. They also bought Twisted Pixel,
which is kind of wild. Another one that people might not have heard of for a while.
So I had mega lost track of them. I think somewhere in the back of my head, they were still owned by Microsoft.
No, they bungeed.
That's right.
They bungeed out from under Microsoft and went independent again.
So did they have a VR product? Was Wavy Tube Man VR?
No, that one. They've made at least one, if not multiple VR games at this point. I just don't keep up with VR that much, so oh wow, yes, their last 4 games were VR games.
They've had 4 VR games?
Yes.
What?
I mean, I don't know how in depth those experiences are. They might be short or bite sized or something. But yeah, they've put out 4 products for Oculus headsets.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they also picked up Armature, which is a studio that I think, pulling a name out of a hat here, I think wasn't Jack Matthews one of the founders of Armature, old Quake era Dallas first person shooter development scene. This is extremely my interest from the late 90s coming through here. I'm sorry. But anyway, Armature is a Texas studio that has worked with Nintendo and some other stuff. They did contract work on Metroid I'm sorry. They worked on Metroid Prime, I think, at Retro. I want to say they came from Retro.
Okay.
And started Armature, but they did that Batman game for Vita, if you remember that.
I do.
I think they've done contract work on, at least according to what I'm reading, Metal Gear products, Borderlands, Injustice, different stuff like that. Anyway, they did RE4 VR.
Okay.
That's the VR connection, is that they did that Resident Evil 4 VR game.
The official RE4 VR.
Yes. And so, anyway, these are all just sort of smaller studios that we are aware of for various reasons.
Because of
that are all now part of the Oculus family.
Twisted Pixel had a really fun early catalog.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Maw, Explosion Man,
Gunstringer.
I
thought Loco Cycle, Comic Jumper.
Loco Cycle sucked.
Yeah,
Loco
Cycle is about where I think things went kind of.
I appreciated what they were going for with Loco Cycle.
Yeah.
As a launch Xbox One game, I could kind of appreciate that they were just kind of going for it, even if it wasn't great.
Is Chainsaw still at Twisted Pixel? Still doing music there?
Probably.
Does everybody still love donuts? I guess
probably. Are their games also did they adapt the Beard engine for VR?
I wonder, could it make it up to VR? Man,
I kind of lost touch with that studio after Teasdale left and went to go start No Goblin.
Right, I totally forgot he was at Twisted Pixel.
Yeah, he worked on Gunstringer.
Right. Yeah, Gunstringer was neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty much a VR studio now.
Okay.
As are Camouflage and Armature, I suppose.
So what does that mean for...
That's the big question.
Oculus game. Their store has become less of a proprietary store, right? Like stuff that is on the Oculus store comes to Steam as well now. I'm not in the VR ecosystem, so I don't really know, but that's what I heard.
I think there are a fair few Oculus exclusive games that never leave the Oculus store, I think.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the bigger thing now is that because I'm never going to stop calling them Facebook, so I'm just going to say Facebook here as shorthand. Their investment in this metaverse stuff and the way that all these company resources are being funneled into that is where I start wondering kind of where these studios fit into that larger plan, because the Quest stuff and the VR stuff is eventually just going to get, hooked in with all of this metaverse bullshit that they are really redlining the company to try and make happen. And look, I don't know anything about these companies' financials. I don't know where they were at, but my personal instinct is that if I was being brought into that company at this time, I would be wary of what they actually wanted me for. Because this metaverse stuff does not feel like it is going to take off in any meaningful way, and I have a bad feeling that is going to splash back in a bad way to people who are developing stuff specifically for the Quest.
Maybe they got a bunch of money, though, to come in.
I mean, in the short term, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they all start a super company with Ryan Payton and Twisted Pixel folks and Armature. We'll see. I don't know about this. I'm too old to know or care about what's going on with Meta.
Wait.
Oh, you're not alone on that one. Don't
being
worry.
Being old is the prerequisite to caring about what's going on with Meta, because I promise anybody under the age of 35, Facebook might as well not exist.
The kids absolutely do not give a shit.
Not.
Yeah.
I thought
they might care about VR. They do not care about the metaverse. They do not care about Facebook.
Any social media older than TikTok is fucking beyond done for anybody that's 20-ish.
It's WhatsApp. Does that count WhatsApp?
That's not really social media. That's more messaging.
I don't know what the other ones are. I mean, Instagram is just Facebook at this point. So that's social media. Speaking of social media, Brad, this next story coming from Phil Spencer's social media accounts. What is Phil leaking here, intentionally or unintentionally?
Microsoft went and formalized this idea that secret products show up on the shelves of Phil Spencer behind him, because he went and tweeted some Fallout 25th anniversary photo that the straight up Xbox Twitter account replied to, going hey boss, maybe you shouldn't leave a prototype hardware lying around in your photo. And it's
and
maybe might be leaning into this just a little too hard. I don't know here.
And what are people assuming it is?
There is a tiny box that looks like a very small Xbox Series S on his shelf, which is basically said to be a prototype of their set-top streaming box, which I guess is codenamed Keystone. I have not seen that name before.
I'll be honest, when I looked at this thing, I thought it was just a little model.
Oh, like a little model Xbox?
Yeah.
It almost looks like a Wiimote on its side. It's
or honestly, I mean, it looks like, they made the tiny PlayStation, the tiny NES, like those little emulation boxes. Like, it looks like 20 years from now, if somebody did that with an Xbox Series S, it's the mini version of that. But, like, the thing is basically Microsoft's Apple TV, is the rumor. Although, what is going on over there? They have since said, like, oh, that was an old prototype. We have now moved away from that design direction. Mm-hmm. It's like, why did you put it out there?
I don't know.
Why are you out there, like, seeding people's expectations with something that you're not actually going to do?
So do you think that you're saying this was planted for sure? That is your take is like 100%. Like,
well, I mean, I
think he's doing
plausible.
it to be cheeky, but yes.
I guess it's plausible. He just forgot it was there. I doubt it.
It's kind of front and center and not well positioned for something that is like, if you look at the photo, there's a sword with a controller centered underneath it, and then this thing just looks like it is stuffed onto the shelf in a way that is not something you would have there all the time. Also,
that's how you sell it as legitimate, is you got to make it look as shitty as possible.
No, but the rest of the shelf looks organized, and this thing just looks like it's chucked up there. The other thing is he already has a Vault Boy on his shelf. Why does he's like putting this one on the shelf to be like, look, Vault Boy, stop by. It's like, you already got one on there. He's in the corner. You don't need another one. It's all right.
Look, some people collect porcelain dolls. Just let the man have his Vault Boys.
I think it's awesome. I like Phil Spencer. I think it's fun. I think if you want to show off prototype hardware this way, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but I feel like this is it, though. That's what I meant. Like, I think they have...
We're done?
Officially, yeah. By calling this much attention to it, I feel like they have... Now it's going to turn into an arms race of, like, who can put wackier shit behind them until it just burns itself out now.
It's like the T-shirt thing, right? He can't wear the T-shirts on stage anymore.
I don't know. I'm curious about that product. I want to see what they end up doing with it. Like, the rumor is it's like, hey, it's an xCloud only device. It's like the thing that won't play any games locally, but you can stream all the Game Pass games to it, which is a cool idea unto itself. But I want to know if they're going to allow the Xbox Store, all the apps and stuff, to run on this thing, because that marketplace is wild. Like
what's some of the wilder stuff on there? You're talking beyond like HBO apps or anything.
Like I don't know if there's still UWP apps. I don't know what the framework is at this point, but like you can sell apps that you made for PC on that thing, and you can straight up just go download VLC for the Xbox now.
Okay.
Like,
hell yeah.
You can straight up download VLC for free on an Xbox, plug a USB stick full of videos into that Xbox, and just play them.
Can you point it to a network share?
I think so, yeah. Like Kodi, all kinds of stuff like that. Like, it's just the idea of the Xbox of, say, 15 years, like the 360 era Xbox being able to do things like that. I mean, yeah, they always had the built-in media player app, but that did not support file formats and codecs the way that fucking VLC does. Like, it feels so anything goes compared to how buttoned up Xbox used to be, that if you can do stuff like that on that box, that would be pretty neat.
Coupled with Game Pass, which again, is not free. You pay a subscription for it, but coupled with Game Pass, I would be into one of these in a room in the house that just doesn't have it. Because you could also, I assume, stream, like they said, your local games, right? A local system to this thing as well, not just cloud, right? That's one of their...
Presumably, although I tried to set that up with the Xbox Windows app this morning and was not super successful. So
oh, really? Okay. I would be down to try one of these out. If the price point is right, which I would say it needs to be in the $100 range and just have Xbox controllers. I wonder if they would use Bluetooth or use their proprietary Xbox stuff with it. They should do Bluetooth on this thing, I would say. But maybe for latency stuff they use their Xbox nonsense.
That's a good question.
Maybe they do both.
Yeah, they might just allow you to use whatever controller you have to keep the price of the box down.
Right, and multiple controllers and stuff.
Yeah, they say they're using a proprietary codec that's engineered for latency for the controllers. So
yeah,
but anyway,
but it doesn't use that on the Windows side, right? When you plug in Or do you? Do you have to plug in that Windows dongle still?
Yeah, if you got the dongle, it'll use that.
Okay. It's neat. I think that will work if the library is there, coming off the heels of the Stadia announcement that they are closing down. Again, streaming is not dead. It's just, I think the model of service needs to be better. Let's jump into another story here. Saints Row is not dead.
That's what they tell me.
Saints Row still alive?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's on live support, at least.
You tell me.
It's Saints Row. What if I told you that there might be over 200 bugs in the game if they have 200 bugs?
That I would believe you.
If they are doing a major update that includes over 200 bug fixes, that's a lot of bugs.
That sounds low to me.
What is the story about Saints Row? I
only put this in here because I was complaining a couple weeks ago that game still hadn't gotten patched.
Yeah.
It has pulled a couple of hot fixes since launch that had some fixes in it, but they have flat out come out and said, hey, the first major update's coming in November.
Okay.
And is going to have a ton of bug fixes in it.
So again, for the Nextlander faithful, you, Brad, and Alex do not think it is, and I think I'm with you, agree that it's not just the bug fixes.
No, I started to flippantly say that I am raring to get back to Saints Row as soon as they patch it, but that's not actually the case.
No, yeah, like the problems with that game definitely run deeper, and just sort of the generic open world design and very spotty writing are not things that are going to be fixed by bug fixes. The thing is, I could have foreseen a world where I at least played a good chunk of that game and endured those, former things, were it not for the latter bugs. And at a certain point, the latter bugs were just like, there's no value in me continuing on in this thing.
Yeah, like we talked about it the week it came out, but like losing 30 minutes of progress doing a whole ass story mission just because the game locked up at the loading screen was like, okay, I could put up with a lot, but you were just straight up wasting my time now. They should fix it. I mean, of course they should. Like, they sold it. They sold it, and it's good that they are going to stick it out and clean it up so it's at least playable. They say there's all kinds of quality of life things and like a free cosmetic pack and new gameplay content coming next year and all kinds of stuff. They say they are in it for the long term. Also, the CEO of Embracer, I almost put this in the news last week, like had spoken on an earnings call about the game being polarizing is the word he used.
The launch of it. Yeah, like the reception, right?
I had hoped for a greater reception to the game, he says.
We all hope for a lot of things.
Yeah. But he was at least somewhat forthcoming about the fact that a lot of people were not happy with the game. Anyway, I don't think any of us are going to get back to Saints Row anytime soon, but at least they have not abandoned it.
All right. And finally, someone please explain to me what this Kojima thing is. I tried to read this story like 3 times, and I feel like I couldn't really follow is
it the fact that he's basically doing a who's on first bit with this like little bit of promotion here, or what?
Is it? I mean, I know there's a lot of intentionally obscure stuff, but is it more than one game we are talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay. Like what?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, okay. Here's what we know as far as what is going on at Kojima Productions right now. We know that there is some game that Norman Reedus referred to as the second one. Whether he is referring to a specific Death Stranding sequel or just the next game for that studio, no one has elaborated. There seems to be some scuttlebutt that it is probably a Death Stranding sequel somewhere in there. Okay. There is also this horror game that has been talked about with, I think Margaret Qualley is the star of that one.
Okay.
Is she? Okay.
That was, I think, the original information that came out. Whether she's the only star, I don't know.
But yes, you're right. We talked about that there was leaked footage. The footage never got out, but it got leaked to a reporter who described it and said that she was in the footage. The reason I ask that is that there's some speculation that she might also be in this new game that stars.
Oh, Ellie Fanning?
Elle Fanning.
I don't know.
Elle Fanning Son, please.
Yes, Elle Fanning Son. I don't know what it was about that tweet. It's just there's just something weird about that tweet he put out. That's like photos of her posing in this like 360 degree photo capture thing. I don't know. There's Kojima's just a strange.
There's not something weird. Like, it is something that is, in fact, extremely tangible and extremely identifiable, which is that Hideo Kojima fucking loves famous people.
That's kind of what it is. That's what I'm getting at. There's just something like, maybe calling it fetishistic is a little bit extreme, but like, you get what I mean? Like,
I get what you mean. But I think he just really enjoys the fact that he gets to hang out with famous people.
Yes.
And like, on a certain level, I kind of understand that.
Sure. Yeah. And it's not like, it's not like he is doing it just to hang out with them. Like, obviously they are they're doing real dramatic work in his games, of course.
It's true, but I also wonder if there is like a certain amount of, I am writing this game specifically so I get to hang out with more famous people kind of thing going on there.
Entirely possible.
Where would I know Elle Fanning from?
Okay, so Elle Fanning is Dakota Fanning's sister.
Okay, I know Dakota.
You know who Dakota Fanning is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Elle has been in a number of movies. And the one that I'm going to point to here, it kind of ties some things together here in terms of the Kojima-verse, is that she was the star of the, I think, 2016 Nicholas Winding Refn movie, Neon Demon. Nicholas Winding Refn, if you don't know him, he is the director of Drive, Valhalla Rising, a bunch of other very moody and somewhat impenetrable movies.
Okay.
And also he is Heartman in Death Stranding.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh,
I totally forgot.
His face is. I think he's one of the people that got recast with a different voice actor, but yes.
Okay. The likeness?
I totally, because that happened with Del Toro too, right? It was just his likeness, but not his voice.
Not terribly far off from his original voice, but it is not him. Yeah.
Huh.
So anyway, like he has found the star of one of his good director friends' movies and decided that, well, what if Elle Fanning was in one of my games? Then that brings me closer to, the director friend that I have, and like we have a shared. I don't know. I'm speculating here, but I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, no. You have unpacked fairly well why that tweet struck me the way it did.
So there's a tweet with the who am I stuff, right?
I'm always asking this,
and that was the Elle Fanning reveal, and then there was just the Elle Fanning son. Photo tweet.
So there's been more, like there's a who where is where or whatever, and there's like another one with another outline of a person. So I assume there's like another actor that is going to be revealed for whatever the hell project it is they're promoting here.
Okay, but again,
all of his tweets read like a who's on first bit, and it is really funny, but I don't think that's what he's going for.
Okay. And then we have Death Stranding 2 possibility. We have horror, was that codename Overdose or that horror game?
Yes.
Possibility.
Which is the Xbox game.
Oh, so is that the Xbox game?
That's what I was going to say.
I don't know if
or is there the Xbox game?
I don't know if that's confirmed. I think it's. They didn't actually confirm the name of that game, did they?
No, they didn't. And that's the thing, is that like the only thing he said about the Xbox game is that it is not coming anytime soon.
Okay,
right.
I believe it was kind of understood by the leakers that is the name of the Xbox game, but nobody 100% knows for sure.
So I was keeping 3 balls in the air, right? The Xbox game, the horror game, and Death Stranding 2, and I wasn't sure which ones are which.
Okay, I'm looking back at this now. I think that was just a coincidence of timing, because the stuff about Margaret Qualley, also we are talking an awful lot about rumored Kojima projects.
I mean, this whole thing is nonsense.
The footage with Margaret Qualley in it that got reported by people like Tom Henderson, I guess that was just like very close to the Xbox conference. So close that it seemed like whatever Kojima said at Xbox was going to refer to that game, but I guess that could be a coincidence. Like,
right.
That footage could be this game, and the Xbox thing could be something totally different.
Okay, well,
but it seems possible that could this all be the same game? Could they still only be a one-game studio?
I don't think so. I think at bare minimum there are 2 games here.
I think a completely new game for Xbox would be weird if Death Stranding 2.
Well, that couldn't be. Well, maybe it could be. I think they own the IP. I don't think it.
I think that.
But they've said
Sony, but either way, they could be. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to look at this right now and figure out if there's any chance they are doing another PlayStation game or.
Well, so they've said they're still working with Sony.
Okay.
Like they're not moving to Microsoft as an exclusive studio for them or anything like that. They said they are still doing work for PlayStation, I think.
Okay, so it seems possible they have maybe staffed up to a 2-game studio then, potentially.
At least 2 things in a hopper. I don't know. So what is confirmed? There's confirmed that there is Elle Fanning will be in a game. That is the only thing that is confirmed.
The only things we know for certain is that Norman Reedus was out there talking about a second game, and at some point Elle Fanning showed up at their photo studio. That is the grand sum of what we know to be true.
I mean, that would be a pretty amazing Kojima swerve if like they hired her to promote this game and it turned out she was not in the game at all. Like
I never said she was in it.
Yeah,
that would be some serious, like, you actually play as Raiden for this entire game kind of shit if she was in all of the marketing and then it turned out she was not in the game at all.
That's pretty good. Maybe it's a prequel to Death Stranding, and maybe this is what was the mom character's name? Was it Mom Bridges?
Mama.
Was it Mama?
It was literally Mama.
No, not the mom. No, the Bridges' actual mom.
Oh, yeah, Bridget
Mama was
Strand.
The quality.
Yeah.
God, I cannot talk today.
Bridget Strand was the president.
Maybe it's a prequel where Elle Fanning could play like a younger Bridget Strand, or maybe that game is so weird. Maybe she gets reincarnated in some weird form.
Somehow she's reincarnated as 1970s Lindsay Wagner. It's really fucking weird.
The whole thing is, I don't know. Try to make sense of the games. Try to make sense of Kojima's social media post mixed in with his kind of weird stardom lust thing that he has acquired.
You want to say Starfucker so bad, but you're just not willing to say it.
I'm not willing to say it, but I think I don't think it would surprise anybody to say Kojima wants to direct a Hollywood movie. I think, or wants to have that circle, right? I don't know if he actually wants to direct a Hollywood movie. I think he wants to be in that circle.
His Twitter bio still to this day says 70% of my body is made of movies.
Okay.
And like within the last week, he was tweeting photos of movie day at the studio.
But that's the thing.
Everybody's gathered in a dark room watching a film.
I don't personally believe that he, at this stage of his life, has a strong desire to get out there and direct a movie. I just think he wants directors and film people to respect them the way that they respect other directors in their field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like looking at his, his Twitter feed. I feel like he does have like a sort of Tarantino-esque, like just deep love and appreciation for
genuine.
That's genuine
culture, filmmaking, et cetera. Like he's just obsessed with this stuff.
Yeah, like I think beyond that, I feel like he wants to be at like the party with Andy Warhol, right? And like laugh at the jokes and talk about the art scene and what's going on in art and media. I think he wants to be
Andy Warhol.
I don't know. Maybe. Like that, you know, that vibe, right? Like, oh, I was in that scene. I was doing stuff. We'll see. Oh, I mean, he's definitely made a name for himself in games. Let's see if it'll trend. And he seems to be able to pull in talent, though. You think he looks at something like The Quarry and is like, "That's art." Now that's some Hollywood. That's some Hollywood directing.
That has the right number of famous people in it to be art.
I don't know. More to come, I'm sure, as those games continue, start production. I don't know. That's going to do it for the news, folks. Mario, TwitchCon horror stories, Facebook, not horror stories, Phil Spencer's photo wall, Saints Row.
Hideo Kojima likes famous people.
Kojima still likes famous people.
And
Brad, do we have
2 games?
Possibly at least 2 games, if not more. Brad, do we have any emails this week?
We could do a couple real quick here.
What you got for an email?
These emails were sent to podcast@nextlander.com. Send us some emails if you'd like for them to potentially be read on the show.
Podcast@nextlander.com. Emails like...
Chase from Cleveland wrote in with a snippet of that John Carpenter interview that is making the rounds, in which he confesses To be addicted to Fallout 76. What do we make of this?
He's talked about this before. He said, like, I think last year even, that he was still playing a lot of that game.
Man, like, I took him to be like a more of a story-driven... I mean, I guess that game has quests and NPCs and stuff now. I always thought of him as more of a, like, Assassin's Creed, or not necessarily, like, building survival type games.
I mean, he does like those too, but the thing he says in that interview is that gameplay is the thing, first and foremost, that brings him back.
Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah, but like he's talked about how much he loves Dead Space, talked about how he wants to maybe one day direct a Dead Space movie if they'd have him.
Huh. I mean, boy, I don't think Dead Space exists without the thing, so
yeah,
that would make some sense.
But yeah, like but that's the thing, his gaming tastes are all over the place, and it's really down to just like what is he obsessed with in a given moment. And right now, apparently it's Fallout 76, and going back, and I think he said he played all of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so...
What was the last top 5 or ish games he did for Giant Bomb? Do you remember? Like what his last year was?
That would have been... I'm going to guess 17.
17. When did Fallout come out? 76? Was that like...
It was like 3 years ago? 3 years ago.
3 years ago? Okay.
Let's see.
I was going to try and look up his last one to see if it's on there, but it would be before, probably.
I'm not sure if the wiki has been kept up to date. 2014 is the most recent one I see here, but maybe people just didn't add his subsequent ones.
We did at least one or two after Patrick left, because Patrick is the one who made the connection there.
Nice.
But I think after that, we kind of stopped doing them with him.
Let's see. 2014, his number one game was, in fact, Assassin's Creed Unity.
Nice.
Far Cry 4 at number 2, despite loading screen issue.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Evil
great.
Within and Murdered. But, I would believe that John Carpenter was into games such as those.
God, I forgot Murdered even existed. Yeah, those were always really fun because you could tell someone just bugged him for a list, and that was what he sent over, and no one was going to be like, could you do more? Like, what was I going to do? Say, this isn't good enough, John Carpenter? Absolutely not.
And of course, when all is said and done, I just want to know what John Carpenter's favorite games are. Like, he doesn't have to write a book about them.
Yeah. This is totally this. If this is what you want us to have, this is what we will run.
Yeah,
for sure.
Was there more to that email, Brad?
Oh, that was it.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all read that interview. He also says in there at one point that he would love to score a video game.
See, that's the one I think could happen. I don't think he's going to go back to directing anytime soon. He was pretty burned out by the end, but like some studio somewhere, Supermassive, I'm looking at you. Just get him. Just get him to make you some music, man.
God, that would be great. He's only 74. I thought he was older than that. He's still got plenty of good years left.
Yeah, but I think he wants to spend those years getting high and playing video games and watching basketball mostly.
I mean, look, I get it, but that would be pretty rad.
Yeah.
If he, I'm trying to think if there's a studio better than Supermassive that he could work with, and I don't know that I can think of one.
The unfortunate answer to that question is Bloober Team. That's the one that would probably actually go after him, but you know.
I think if Supermassive had him score a game, they need to give him a cameo in that game somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Like put John Carpenter's likeness in like a little town shopkeeper where they're buying gasoline or something and be like, "You guys know which way you're going?" All right. And then that's it.
Good luck.
Good luck out there. Gas up. Brad, we have another email?
How about... There's a question from Barry in Virginia Beach that I'm guessing perhaps Alex is the only person qualified to address.
Okay.
I don't know what to make of this one.
All right.
Vampire Survivors equals Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl. Discuss. I mean, that's just about the entirety of the email, so I'm just wondering if you can maybe unpack what's being asserted here.
I think the assertion here is that the thing that is satisfying about the game Vampire Survivors, which is just controlling a little man who is doing and just gobs and gobs of increasing damage over time, is similarly pleasing to the act of going full diagonal with Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl and just bowling over everyone. And I think that is not a connection my brain would have ever made, but I see how they got there.
Hey, brains are cool. Sometimes weird stuff happens.
Yeah, totally.
I love the expression going full diagonal. I know exactly what you mean, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody say going full diagonal with Bo
Nobody
Jackson.
has gone diagonal the way that Bo Jackson went diagonal in that game. Bishops in chess don't even go diagonal the way Bo Jackson does.
It's true. He was very good diagonally.
I guess I could have read the subject line is the only other clue I can offer here. The subject line is, does Bo know the law?
Oh.
No. Bo doesn't need to know the law. Bo is beyond the law. Bo is beyond reality.
Okay.
As far as I know, Bo Jackson is a happily retired, pleasant person and is has not fallen into any of the traps a lot of like other athletes of that era have fallen into in later life. So good on him. I hope he's happy.
Was he just 2 sports?
Yes, he was football and he was
baseball, right?
Baseball.
But was there anybody who did 3?
Ooh, basketball? Like throw a basketball in there?
No one, to my knowledge, has ever maintained successful careers in all of them.
Okay.
Is there too much overlap in the seasons to do 3?
That's the other thing. The reason all those like 2-sport athletes did baseball is that most of baseball happens when other sports are not happening.
Ah, okay. Oh, hey, there's a whole Wikipedia page about this.
It's like
I'll read
Michael
that on my
Jordan,
own time.
Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson. Those are
Wait,
like the 3 notable ones.
What did Jordan? Did Jordan play baseball?
He did
Jordan played baseball for a while.
Yeah.
God, I forgot about that.
He also stopped playing basketball for a little bit while he was doing that.
Huh.
He wasn't super great at baseball, right?
Yeah, he was like he was acceptable, but he was definitely not Jordan, you know?
Right. Any more emails, Brad?
I can do one more.
Okay.
Real quick. Rob from Raleigh, North Carolina. My wife and I are moving across the country and plan to buy a new house once we settle back on the East Coast. I was curious, what would you say is your current office aesthetic? What design choices do you make when trying to create a vibe in a room? Do you have any room design recommendations for things like DIY projects, lighting, organization, and etc.?
Vinny, as someone who has actually built studio spaces and tried to create things that are appealing to the eye and to the camera, I feel like you are maybe the only person here. Okay, I'm just going to take myself out of this equation because I have no eye for design whatsoever.
This is, sorry, Brad, this is not studio per se. This is office space, right?
But it's workspace, and
This
that's
is
kind of
office
what...
aesthetic.
Right. So it doesn't have to be on camera.
Okay.
No.
Because that's kind of a different thing. Mine is the room that was available at home to put the stuff in. I think ideally what I would have is storage and free space. I would have a clean living space, like clean desk, cable management. Cable management would be my number one thing.
My guiding principle bordering on obsession is minimize cables and clutter as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So that means use wireless stuff as much as you can, like for things that have to be wired, like if you can like arrange them so that like you can pull it forward and use it, and then when you put it back on the edge of the desk, the cable kind of disappears down the back of the desk. Stuff like that. Yeah.
And you got to stay on top of it. Cable creep is a real thing. So if you do cable management, make it a system in which you can add a cable to the managed cables easily. Otherwise, you're going to do all your cable management, and then you're going to have 1 or 2 cables just be outside of a zip tie or outside of a cable run, and you're not going to, until you redo it again, that cable will not make it inside. The other thing I would say is power outlets. More power outlets. If you are doing this from scratch, if you can get just giant built-in power strips, like you will just never have enough power outlets.
No.
And I guess at this point USB too, because a lot of things power off of USB, so those powered USB outlets are probably the way to go as well.
Another thing for me is keeping stuff off the floor.
Ooh.
Like cable racks and shelves and organizers and stuff that you can mount to the bottom or back of your desk.
Yeah.
To run all the cables through, and even put things like, say, I've got my router and a network switch and 2 power strips mounted on the back of this desk so they don't sit on the floor anymore.
Yeah.
It sure does make it easier to vacuum in here.
Like when I sit down at my desk for work, I want a clean desk with a cup of coffee next to me, and that's it, right? Like that's how I want to start my day.
100%.
and be like,
I
relax.
respect the hell out of everything you guys are saying here, and I definitely would like something along those lines. And part of, my vacation last month was dedicated to making my workspace more livable. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to ask you guys to do a quick Google search here for me, because inevitably, whatever workspace I'm in always ends up kind of looking like this. I want you to put in the words Dave Meltzer, Meltzer, office. And I want you to look at what comes up.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm quite this bad, but this is definitely the way it would go over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure.
That's what my basement looks like.
That's pretty rough.
Dave Meltzer is the producer of the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, which is the longest running pro wrestling journalism thing in currently going. And Dave knows everything about wrestling and absolutely nothing about keeping his office clean.
There is most of these photos, there's literally no visible floor. It is nothing but papers and boxes spread everywhere.
That's disturbing.
I don't know how you walk in there.
I bet he knows where everything is.
That's the thing. I bet he does.
But I bet he would be like, I'll find it. You can't find it. That has become my bar for organized. Not if you know where everything is, but Brad, could you tell me where to go to get something in your apartment? That is organization. Be like, oh yeah, it's the third drawer down in this cabinet. Not, oh no, I need to go find it because it's, tucked away.
The only other thing I would say here is that, just bringing it right back to the beginning of the podcast, addressable LED light strips have gotten quite high quality and cheap. And you can hook them into things like Home Assistant or, Apple Home or whatever. So I've got a strip stuck to the back of my desk and I can make the wall look like whatever color I want. And that's fun.
I guess I'll end on saying whatever solution you come up with, do not feel committed to it if it's getting out of hand. Be liberated and feel free to rearrange and redo, because it takes a long time to figure out exactly what you're going to be doing. So stay flexible, stay limber, manage those cables. That's the worst. And the power outlets, man. Whoever decided that 2 power outlets in a wall every 6 feet or whatever is enough is out of their damn mind. Everyone should be those 4 blocks, at least. That's going to do it for the emails. And that's going to do it for today's show. Folks, I want to let you all know that I appreciate every single one of you listening to this show.
Every single one.
Every single one of you listening to this show. You can go over to patreon.com/Nextlander. That is how we are supported primarily. You can go find a Patreon tier that is right for you, starting at $5. Bunch of goodies over there. You'll get the Ramble Cast. You'll get Never Been a Better Podcast starting at $10. You get the Watchcast early. Alex, what's on the Watchcast early feed?
Right now, Prince of Darkness is on the early feed, and if you're on the free feed, you can go listen to The Thing right now.
And then In the Mouth of Madness, if you're trying to keep up for next week,
yes,
on that Patreon feed over there. You also get the podcasts when it posts to the Patreon feed, which is usually I would say what, Brad? Would you say 12 hours-ish early? 12 plus?
Roughly, something like that.
Yeah, around there. You can get that. And it keeps us and allows us to keep doing our things like streaming on Twitch and all the great other stuff we're able to do, not just the exclusives that are on Patreon. It supports a lot of what we do. So thanks, everybody, for supporting us and your continued support. And over on the Patreon, there is one tier there, the Mysterious Benefactor tier, that gets their names read on this here show. And I just happen to have a list of those names in front of me. I do. I have that kind of access. And I am going to read those names right now, starting with John Richardson, Vornak, Vinny's Giant Booga Boogas, Kelly F., James Smith, Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Brad's Mid-Size Hoodoo Voodoo, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, J.M., Jerry Lee, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, John McInnish, hashtag Bunny Slimes, Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Gabriel Knight's voluptuous Voodoo Hoodoos, Brian Murphy, that's 2 Gabriel Knights, Brian Murphy, Terror and Agony R. Making this hard for me this week. Kevin Villado, Randy Duax, Mark Allenbach, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Cheek, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Those are our mysterious benefactors for this week. Big thanks again to the mysterious benefactors, and big thanks again to everyone who has supported us, not only on Patreon, but across the various places you can watch and support. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up this week. On Monday, you heard us talk about it. We had a Grounded stream. Brad and I jumped back into Grounded. You can go check that archive up now. Tomorrow, Brad and I will be doing a grab bag of games. Brad, do you have something in mind that you'd like to play for tomorrow?
I've got all kinds of stuff I could play.
Just bubbling up in there. Tune in tomorrow to find out more about the grab bag of games. And then on Friday, we'll be back with some more, possibly the conclusion to the original Gabriel Knight. That's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday, because Alex won't be there for the grab bag stream, but hopefully you will be back in time for the Gabriel Knight conclusion. What we think, I believe I will be. Conclusion. Yes. So join us for that. And I think that's going to do it. I've been looking into, just a side note here, looking into trying to get some updates for when we've wanted to do website stuff and web design stuff and updated graphics for our streaming things. I should put up a poll on the Discord. I think there is a poll option there. There are 3 camps of people who overlay graphics. There are no graphics, just full gameplay, bigger gameplay. If you have to put a camera up, keep it as small as possible. There are more people, like bigger portraits. I don't care if it overlays the gameplay. It could take up a substantial amount of room. And then the third camp is make it look nice. Whatever it is, like you can carve out sections that are just graphic displays that kind of nest all these things in. And those camps, I feel like, have this 3-way tug of war constantly on too much room is being taken up by graphics, not enough gameplay, or, that's a really ugly design. It's really hard to please those 3 camps. And I'm curious where people kind of fall, where the majority of people fall on that stuff. I don't know. I think
them all.
I know. I think I fall more in the, if you could take up as much room with the cameras and the gameplay without overlapping, covering up. The problem is covering up gameplay with cameras becomes a problem.
That's kind of where I've gotten to. I used to be in the full frame gameplay, just give me the game as big as possible, but little camera insets on top of the game, then you have to dodge UI. Like there's always like UI stuff in games people want to see, and then your camera might be right on top of that, and that's a pain.
Yes. I think as monitors have gotten bigger and the ability to scale stuff up has gotten better, I'm no longer in the make the gameplay as big as possible. I used to be there, and I feel like I've gotten a little bit away from that. But we'll see. I don't know. It's tough. So anyway, that's where kind of my head has been at with some of that stuff. Maybe more on that in the near future. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
We will be back with more very soon, again, streaming on a Thursday, and we'll be back next week with another podcast. See you guys very soon. Bye.